The invitation was cream-colored, thick enough to survive a flood, with Paige's name pressed into the paper in gold. I knew that because my son sent me a picture of his. "Look what finally came," Daniel had written. "Simone says the envelope probably cost more than our toaster." I stood at my kitchen counter with my phone in one hand and that day's mail in the other. Electric bill, grocery circular, an offer to replace windows I had replaced 3 years earlier. No cream envelope. Paige answered on the fourth ring. "Honey, did you mail my invitation to the right address?" There was a silence just long enough to change the temperature of the room. "It didn't get lost, Mom." I looked through the mail again as if the missing invitation might have been hiding inside the grocery circular. "Then where is it? We used the real guest list." She said it calmly. That was the part that stayed with me. Not angry, not embarrassed. Calmly, as if the real guest list had been issued by a higher court, and she was only reading the decision. I stared through the doorway at 2 boxes of her wedding linens stacked in my dining room and wondered what kind of mother was real enough to store the tablecloths but not real enough to sit at one. "What does that mean?" I asked. "I can't do this right now. I have a meeting in 6 minutes. Paige, I'll call tonight." She hung up. The dress she wanted to wear to the rehearsal dinner was hanging from the frame of my laundry room door. Navy blue, silk, one loose seam below the zipper. She had dropped it off Sunday with a kiss on my cheek and a request to please not use white thread because it photographs gray. I had told her I had been sewing since before she had kneecaps, but Paige had still left a spool of matching navy thread on the counter. I set my mail beside it. People like to say there are moments when everything becomes clear. That has not been my experience. Usually, everything becomes strange first. Familiar objects look like evidence, except you don't know what crime they belong to. 5 months earlier, at the engagement dinner, Richard had lifted his wine glass and told everyone what a wonderful job he had done raising our daughter. That was not exactly how he phrased it, of course. Richard had spent his entire life finding softer words for hard lies. We were at Bellwether, one of those restaurants where the waiter tells you the chicken's life story before you eat it. Paige had chosen it because Nolan's parents liked the private room. There were 12 of us around a long table under a brass chandelier. Paige and Nolan, me, Richard and his wife, Celeste, Daniel and Simone, Nolan's parents, and 3 friends who had apparently earned early admission to the family. Richard stood with his glass and smiled down at Paige. "I look at this remarkable woman," he said, "and I think about all those years of trying to teach her courage, loyalty, and good judgment." Across the table, Daniel lowered his eyes. His wife touched his wrist. Richard continued. "And then she met Nolan, and I realized at least 2 of those lessons stuck." Everyone laughed. I did too. Richard could have abandoned you at a bus station and gotten a laugh while explaining the schedule. Celeste lifted her glass next. She wore silver earrings that brushed her jaw whenever she turned her head. "I knew Paige would find a man who appreciated family," she said. "She's always had such a strong example of marriage." She rested her hand on Richard's shoulder. Paige beamed at them. Then Celeste told a story about teaching Paige to make rosemary chicken when Paige was just starting to find herself in the kitchen. It was a sweet story. There was only one problem. It had happened in my kitchen, with me. Paige had been 23, newly moved back home after a bad breakup, and too sad to eat anything that didn't come through a drive-through window. I taught her to put lemon under the chicken skin. She complained that it was disgusting, then called me 3 months later because she had forgotten the oven temperature. Celeste had eaten that chicken once, 7 years afterward. I waited for Paige to say something. She caught my eye. For half a second, I saw recognition. Then she smiled at Celeste and said, "You're the reason Nolan thinks I can cook." That was when something mean and tired climbed into my mouth. It's amazing how much parenting people can remember doing once the photographs start. Daniel whispered, "Mom." Richard gave a little chuckle. "Uh-oh, fact-checkers here. He meant to turn me into the joke and move on. Normally, I would have helped him. I had helped him for 37 years. Instead, I put down my fork. Do you remember Paige's college apartment, Richard? His smile held, but only around the edges. What about it? The deposit. You told her we paid it together. Paige's face changed. Mom, not tonight. I paid it. I picked up extra Saturdays for 3 months. He sent a houseplant. It was a very nice houseplant, Richard said. Nobody laughed this time. Nolan shifted beside Paige. His mother, Cynthia, became fascinated by the butter dish. Celeste removed her hand from Richard's shoulder. I should have stopped. I knew it even then. Truth does not become kind just because it has been waiting a long time. And the weekend you moved into the dorm, I said, your father didn't have the flu. He went to Lake Geneva. Marlene, Richard said quietly, I told you he had the flu because you sat on your suitcase crying and said he must be dying if he was willing to miss that day. Paige pushed back from the table. Why are you doing this? It was the right question, and I didn't have an answer that would fit inside that room. I'm tired of sitting here while people rewrite your life. No, she said. You're tired of not being the center of it. She left the table. Nolan followed her. The waiter arrived seconds later carrying 12 tiny chocolate cakes with lit sparklers in them. He stopped in the doorway, looked around at our faces, and said, Should I circle back? That poor man was the only person all evening who showed good judgment. I apologized to Paige the next morning. I told her I had been angry and had chosen the worst possible place to release it. I told her she had deserved an engagement dinner that was about her future, not my history with her father. But what you said wasn't true, she replied. Which part? That Dad wasn't there for us. I didn't say he was never there. You made him sound like a monster. Your father isn't a monster. He's a man who discovered other people would cover for him. There was a pause. You humiliated me in front of Nolan's family. I know, I am sorry for that. And Celeste. I'm less sorry about Celeste. Mom, I said less. I'm trying to be precise. She almost laughed. I heard it catch in her throat, and for a moment I thought we were going to find our way through. Then she said she needed space. I gave it to her. The space lasted 9 days. On the 10th, Paige called to ask whether eucalyptus looked cheap. The florist wanted to use it along the aisle, and Nolan's mother had said eucalyptus was over. I had no idea how a plant became over, but I listened to 20 minutes of floral politics and said greenery did not have social rank. After that, the wedding returned to our conversations one practical piece at a time. Paige did not apologize for the things she had said after the engagement dinner, and I did not press her. I took her calls as proof that we were repairing something. In March, she brought the linens. I only need to keep them here until the week of the wedding, she said, as Nolan carried the second box into my dining room. Why can't they stay at your place? Because Nolan believes a chair is a storage system. Nolan looked at the chair beside my front door where I had stacked 3 scarves, a tote bag, and an unopened package of light bulbs. I learned from your family, he said. I liked Nolan. That complicated things later. Paige walked through my kitchen while talking about the breakfast she wanted the morning after the wedding. Nothing formal, she said. Coffee, pastries, eggs, fruit, maybe those potatoes I made at Christmas. So nothing formal except breakfast for 40 people, I said. 32. I can do 32 in my sleep. I know. The way she said it warmed me. I heard trust in it. I did not hear entitlement, though entitlement and trust often wear the same coat. By April, relatives had been told to come to my house at 10 the morning after the ceremony. I borrowed 2 folding tables from Ruth. I made a list of foods I could prepare ahead. Paige sent me pictures of small chalkboard signs that said things like, "Love is sweet and brunch so hard." I told her if she put brunch so hard in my dining room, I would report her to the English language. She sent back 3 laughing faces. That was us. Or I thought it was. The afternoon Daniel's invitation arrived. I called him before Paige called me back. Did you know? I asked. He went quiet. That was answer enough. How long? Mom, I didn't know for sure. How long, Daniel? Maybe 2 weeks. I sat down at the kitchen table. And you weren't going to tell me? I told Paige she needed to tell you herself. That isn't what I asked." He exhaled into the phone. I didn't know what to do. Daniel had been saying that since he was tall enough to reach the top shelf. As a young man, he had used it to explain a wrecked car, a ruined credit card, and a Thanksgiving when he invited both of his girlfriends to dinner. At 39, he used it more selectively. "What did she tell you?" "That she and Nolan were keeping the ceremony small. You and Simone are going." "Yes." "Your father?" Another pause. "Yes." "Celeste?" "Yes." I looked at the navy dress hanging in the laundry room doorway. "Then it isn't small, it's specific." "Mom, please don't call Dad. I wasn't planning to. Or Cynthia. Why would I call Nolan's mother?" "I don't know. I'm just asking you not to do anything until Paige explains." Everybody seems very concerned about what I might do. That dinner scared her. That landed because there was truth inside it. Maybe not enough truth to carry what they had built on top of it, but enough to make me lower my voice. I behaved badly at that dinner. I know. You could hesitate before agreeing so fast. Sorry. No, you're not. No, I'm not. Despite myself, I smiled. Daniel had inherited honesty in inconvenient bursts. Paige called at 8:20. I knew the time because I had been watching the clock since 6. "Can we talk now?" I asked. "Yes." No hello. No apology for leaving me at the kitchen counter all afternoon with a sentence that made less sense each time I repeated it. I waited. She said, "The list you saw in January was the working list. It had everybody we discussed before we finalized the ceremony. I saw my name." "I know. So when you said the real guest list, you meant the list without me." "Mom, don't phrase it like that." "How would you phrase it? We chose people who can support the day without bringing old tension into it." I rubbed my thumb over a scratch in the tabletop. Paige had made that scratch with a fork during an argument when she was 26. I could not remember the argument. I remembered the fork. Does Nolan think I won't support the marriage? This isn't about Nolan. Does Cynthia? Please don't make her the villain. I'm trying to locate one. There doesn't have to be a villain. Sometimes there are just consequences. I let that sit between us. Your father said he wouldn't come if I was there. He said he couldn't go through another scene. And that was enough. The engagement dinner wasn't your first problem with him. No. It was my first problem with him in front of people you wanted to impress. That's not fair. Who is walking you down the aisle? She breathed in, then let it out slowly. Dad. And where is Celeste sitting? With him. As what? Mom. As what, Paige? They're being introduced as the parents of the bride. Behind me, the refrigerator motor shut off. The whole house seemed to stop with it. Paige rushed to fill the silence. "I still want you at the dressing appointment Thursday, and we'll all be at your house for breakfast Sunday. That's family time. The ceremony is one event." I looked toward the dining room where her linens waited in boxes beneath the window. "No," I said. "The ceremony is the wedding." "Don't do that," Paige said. "Do what?" "Turn one event into a definition of our entire relationship. You just told me I'm too dangerous to attend your wedding, but trustworthy enough to dress you for it. I didn't call you dangerous." "No, you used old tension." "It sounds better on stationery. This is exactly what I was afraid of." I pushed my chair back and stood, though there was nowhere I needed to go. My kitchen was suddenly too small for sitting still. "The wedding is 3 weeks away," I said. "When were you planning to tell me?" "I'm telling you now." Because I asked, I was trying to find the right time. Was the right time before or after I cooked breakfast for the people who made the real list? She exhaled hard. "Can you please stop saying it that way? I'm using your words." I misspoke. "No, you didn't. You said it very clearly. I meant the final list. Then call it final. Real is different." She went quiet. For one hopeful second, I thought she understood. Then I heard the faint clicking of her keyboard. "Are you working while we're having this conversation? I told you I have a lot going on. So do I. Apparently I have a breakfast to cancel." The clicking stopped. "What?" I won't be hosting the breakfast. You can't cancel it. I'm pretty sure I can. People already have your address. Then send them another one. Mom, there are 32 people coming. The restaurant at the hotel is booked, and the private rooms near the venue are insanely expensive. You should have considered that before deciding the woman who owns the breakfast table was not suitable for the wedding. This is punishment. It's a boundary. That is what people call punishment when they want to feel healthy about it. I almost admired the sentence. Paige had always been good at finding the one line that could make you doubt the paragraph around it. I rested my hand on the back of the kitchen chair. The linens need to be picked up by Saturday. Your blue dress will be ready with them. You don't have to finish the dress. I said I would. You also said you'd host the breakfast. I said that when I believed I was invited. You assumed you were invited. That one got through. I looked toward the dark window above the sink. My reflection looked older than it had that morning. Yes, I said. I assumed my daughter would invite me to her wedding. You know what I mean. I do now. Mom, please. We can figure this out. Maybe you could come by after the ceremony before the reception starts. And do what? I don't know. See me. Take a picture. Where? The bridal room. So nobody has to see me. That's not what I said. No, that's what you planned. Her voice cracked when she answered. You're making everything ugly. I closed my eyes. I am not the one who did this. You never think you are. She hung up. For the second time that day, I stood holding a dead phone. I wanted to throw it. Instead, I plugged it into the charger because my battery was at 11%, and I had been raised by people who believed destruction was wasteful. The navy dress waited in the laundry room. I took it down, laid it across the kitchen table, and found my seam ripper in the junk drawer. I had sewn half of Paige's clothes when she was younger because she hated the way store-bought pants fit her waist. In her 20s, she started buying expensive clothes and bringing them to me for adjustments while insisting she was not picky. The loose seam was 4 inches long. I could have fixed it in 15 minutes. It took me nearly an hour because my hands kept shaking. At 9:30, someone knocked on the front door. Richard stood on my porch wearing a light jacket over a golf shirt. He had always dressed as if an unexpected invitation to a country club might arrive at any moment. You work fast, I said. Can I come in? No. He glanced toward the house across the street where my neighbor's porch light was on. Marlene, Richard, we're really going to have this conversation through a screen door? You've had important conversations from farther away. His mouth tightened. It was a cheap shot. Accurate, but cheap. I didn't come here to fight. That must be why you came after dark with no warning. He shoved his hands into his jacket pockets. Paige is upset. She has company. She called me crying. Then you got something I didn't. I'm asking you not to make this harder for her. I opened the screen door not to invite him in, but because the metal grid across his face made the conversation feel ridiculous. Did you tell her you wouldn't attend if I was there? I told her I wasn't comfortable walking into another ambush. It was an engagement dinner, Richard, not the Ardennes. You started listing my failures in front of strangers. They were only strangers because you missed so many family gatherings. He looked down the street. Richard had never liked being seen in an argument. He preferred conflict indoors, where he could revise it later. I said I would respect whatever decision she made, he told me, after telling her your attendance depended on mine. I did not say that. What did you say? I said I didn't know if Celeste and I could be part of the day if there was going to be hostility. Hostility meaning me. Hostility meaning hostility. Was the cake threatening you too? This is what you do. You make a joke, then act like the other person is unreasonable for not laughing. I learned from you. For a moment, neither of us spoke. A car passed slowly at the end of the street, its headlights sliding over the maple tree and across Richard's face. He looked tired, not guilty. Richard wore guilt like a rented suit. He returned it before it wrinkled. Celeste told Paige she should invite you, he said. That surprised me enough that I stopped preparing my next answer. When? After the dinner. She said excluding you would make things worse. And what did you say? I said it was Paige's decision. Of course you did. What was I supposed to say? You could have told your daughter that you were capable of spending 4 hours in the same building with the woman who covered for you half your life. His jaw shifted. Nobody asked you to cover for me. No, you just benefited from it. Marlene, you chose what you told the children. You don't get to turn your choices into debts I owe you forever. There it was, the irritating piece of truth Richard could always find inside his larger cowardice. I had chosen. At first, to protect Daniel and Paige, then because explaining the truth would have meant admitting how long I had tolerated it. I'm not asking you to repay me, I said. I'm asking you to stop accepting the interest. He rubbed his forehead. What does that even mean? It means when Celeste tells a story from my kitchen, you don't raise a glass to it. This is not about rosemary chicken. No, it's about who gets edited out so the rest of you can enjoy yourselves. He stared at me, then nodded toward the dining room window. Paige said you're refusing to host the breakfast. That's right. Relatives have made travel plans. They can still travel. They just can't eat eggs here. You're proving her point. What point? That when you're hurt, everyone has to hurt. The sentence landed harder coming from him because it sounded like something Paige had said first. I folded my arms. If I host that breakfast, I spend the morning pouring coffee for people who were permitted to witness my daughter's wedding. Then I smile while they tell me how beautiful she looked. No one expects you to serve anybody. We can hire help. In my house, if that makes it easier. You think the serving is the problem. I think you're making the breakfast symbolic because you can't control the ceremony. I don't want to control the ceremony. I wanted to attend it. You wanted to be recognized. As her mother. Yes, Richard. I had that outrageous ambition. His face softened for a moment, and that was almost worse. Richard's sympathy had always arrived after the damage, when it could no longer cost him anything. I'm sorry, he said. Are you coming if I'm not there? He hesitated. Yes. Then don't be sorry on my porch. Go be comfortable. I shut the door. He stayed outside long enough for me to see his shape through the frosted glass. Then his shoes scraped across the porch, and a minute later, his car started. I went back to the kitchen and finished Paige's dress. The next morning, Ruth arrived carrying 2 coffees and a paper bag darkened with grease at the bottom. She let herself in after knocking once, which was our arrangement when one of us had bad news or warm pastries. I brought bear claws, she announced. I hate bear claws. You hate raisins. These have almonds. Then they're almond claws. She set the bag on the table and looked at the dress spread across it. Did something die? My social standing. That's been dead for years. Ruth was 66, 5 feet tall, and built like she had been designed to move furniture without asking for help. We had met when our daughters were in college, and both of us attended a financial aid seminar that turned out to be a sales pitch for private loans. Ruth stood up halfway through and asked the presenter whether he slept well. I had loved her ever since. She handed me a coffee. What happened? I told her. Not elegantly. I kept circling details that did not matter, like the weight of Daniel's invitation and the fact that Paige had left navy thread, even though I owned at least 6 shades. Ruth ate half an almond claw without interrupting. When I finished, she wiped sugar from her thumb. And you canceled the breakfast? Yes. Good. I don't need automatic agreement. That wasn't automatic. I listened for 12 minutes. Richard says I'm proving their point. Richard once tried to assemble a gas grill with wood glue. That doesn't make him wrong about everything. No, but it does earn him additional review. I sat across from her. Am I punishing Paige? Yes. I blinked. Ruth took another bite. You're hurt, and part of you wants her to feel the effect of hurting you. That's punishment. I knew you were going to be irritating, but that doesn't mean you should host the breakfast. The question isn't whether she feels punished. The question is whether you're allowed to stop offering something when the conditions have changed. I peeled the cardboard sleeve from my coffee cup. She'll never forgive me if this ruins her wedding weekend. Will you forgive yourself if you stand at that stove? The doorbell rang before I could answer. Paige was on the porch in black work pants and a cream blouse, her hair pulled into a low knot. She looked as though she had dressed for a difficult meeting and hated that the meeting was with me. Her eyes moved past my shoulder to Ruth. "Of course you're here." Ruth picked up her coffee. "Good morning to you too." Paige stepped inside without waiting to be invited. "I came for the linens." "They're in the dining room," I said. "Your dress is finished." She looked at it on the table, the repaired seam nearly invisible. Her face changed, but only for a second. "I told you not to bother. You told me I didn't have to. I don't understand how you can do this." She touched the dress, then dropped her hand. "You'll fix a seam but blow up the entire weekend." Ruth stood. "I'm going to take my coffee outside before I become part of the old tension." When the door closed behind her, Paige looked at me. "You told Ruth?" "She brought almond claws." I broke under interrogation. "This isn't funny." "No, Nolan and I were up until 2, trying to find somewhere for breakfast." "I'm sorry it's difficult." "Are you?" "Yes, just not sorry enough to help." I looked at my daughter standing beside the dress I had repaired for a dinner I would not attend. "That," I said, "is exactly right." "At least you're honest," Paige said. "You asked." "No, I came for my things." She went into the dining room and crouched beside the first box. The flaps had been folded across each other, the way Nolan had left them. Paige pulled them apart and looked inside. "Did you wash these?" "They were clean when you brought them." "I know. I just wondered, why? They smell like lavender. That's my house. It smells like lavender." She lifted a folded runner to her nose as if verifying testimony. Even furious, Paige could not resist inspecting fabric. I watched her put the runner back with both edges aligned. "Where am I supposed to take all this?" she asked. "Where were you going to take it after Saturday?" "The venue. But not for 3 weeks. Then you need somewhere for 3 weeks." She stared at me. "You could let it stay here." "I could. But you won't." "No. You're even evicting the tablecloths? They're innocent victims. Stop making jokes. I'm trying not to say something worse." She gripped the sides of the box and stood too quickly. The bottom sagged. "Careful," I said. "I have it." "You don't. I said I have it." The box split along one taped seam. A stack of ivory napkins slid onto the rug. For a second, we both froze. Then we knelt at the same time, bumping shoulders. "Great," Paige muttered. "They're fine. I just had them pressed." They landed on a clean rug. "Ruth wears her shoes in here. Ruth is not carrying farm equipment on her feet." From the porch, Ruth called, "I heard that." Paige snatched up the napkins. I collected the runners and set them on a chair. We worked without looking at each other, our hands performing the old familiar choreography of cleaning up something that had fallen. "I'll get packing tape," I said. "I can buy tape." "I own tape." "Of course you do." She sat back on her heels. A strand of hair had come loose beside her face. "What am I supposed to tell people about the breakfast?" "The location changed. They're going to ask why. You can answer them." "Can I say you had a plumbing issue?" "No, it would keep this private. My plumbing is not taking the blame for your guest list." "Then what do you want me to say?" "The bride and her mother are engaged in a symbolic war over eggs." "I don't want you to say anything. That's the difference between us. I'm not designing your version." She looked down at the napkin in her hands. "If I tell people the truth, they'll think I'm horrible." I waited for her to hear herself. She didn't. "They'll think you're horrible too," she added. "There it is." "What?" "The part that bothers you." "You think I only care about appearances?" "I think appearances are why Celeste gets introduced as your mother. She is not being introduced as my mother. They're saying, parents of the bride." "Thank you for clarifying the erasure. Dad and Celeste have been married for 14 years. She is part of the family. I never said she wasn't. You have never accepted her. I invited that woman to Christmas for 11 consecutive years. You handed her decaf and called it regular. That happened once, and she slept fine." Paige pressed her lips together. The laugh escaped anyway, small and unwilling. It was gone so quickly I might have imagined it. "I brought the tape from the junk drawer." Paige held the box while I reinforced the seam. We used too much, wrapping it in 3 directions because neither of us wanted to be the first to stop. When we finished, she stood and brushed her knees. I can fit 1 box in my car. Nolan can come for the other. He's at work. Saturday is 3 days away. I heard you the first time. She carried the repaired box toward the front door. I followed and opened it for her. Ruth was sitting on the porch swing, drinking coffee and studying my flower bed with the grave attention of a city inspector. "You need mulch," she said. "I need fewer witnesses." Paige squeezed past her. "You could help," she said. Ruth stood and took one end of the box. "I could," she agreed. They carried it down the steps to Paige's car. The trunk was already crowded with a case of sparkling water, a garment bag, 2 pairs of shoes, and a wooden sign wrapped in bubble plastic. Paige moved everything around while Ruth waited with the box against her hip. "The shoes can go in the back seat," I said. "I know how to pack my own car." Ruth caught my eye over the box. I stepped back. They made it fit by turning the sparkling water sideways. Paige shut the trunk, then opened the driver's door. "Are you still coming Thursday?" she asked. "To the fitting?" "Yes." I had forgotten, though it was written on my calendar in blue ink. Paige, bridal fitting, 4:30. I don't know. How can you not know? "I found out yesterday that I'm not invited to your wedding. You've known for less than 24 hours and you're canceling everything." I said, "I don't know. The fitting isn't the wedding. That seems to be the argument for everything you still want from me." Her face hardened. "You know what? Don't come." She got into the car. "Paige, no. You made your decision." "I have not made a decision about Thursday." "Yes, you have. You just want me to be the one who says it." She shut the door, reversed too fast, then braked at the end of the driveway to check for traffic. Even enraged, she had always been a careful driver. Ruth waited until the car disappeared around the corner. "You do need mulch," she said. "I don't care about the mulch. That's why it feels safe to discuss." We went inside. The second linen box remained under the dining room window. The blue dress waited on the kitchen table. Ruth touched the repaired seam. "You're good. I've had practice fixing things I didn't tear." Subtle. I'm not in a subtle period. She carried our coffee cups to the sink, rinsed hers, and put it in the dishwasher. Ruth had been coming to my house for 15 years and still loaded the dishwasher wrong. I turned the cup right side down after she stepped away. "Did you want her to ask you to come Thursday?" she said. "I wanted her to ask me to the wedding. That wasn't my question." I folded the dress and placed it in a clean garment bag. "Yes?" "Then why didn't you say yes?" "Because she wants me at the fitting so she can feel like I participated. Maybe she wants you because you're her mother. Then why am I not her mother on the wedding program?" Ruth leaned against the counter. "You're doing a thing. What thing? Every offer is now proof of the insult. She created that. She created the situation. You're creating the math." I zipped the bag too hard, the zipper caught halfway. "You said I shouldn't host the breakfast. I still think you shouldn't. Hosting 32 people is labor. Going to a fitting is a choice. So I'm supposed to let her divide me into useful pieces? No. You're supposed to decide which pieces you still want to give." I pulled the zipper backward, freed the fabric, and tried again. "I don't know what I want, that's honest. I wanted the invitation. I know. There are times when a person says the exact right thing and you resent them for not saying more." Ruth did not tell me Paige would change her mind. She did not promise this was temporary. She put the garment bag over the back of a chair and asked whether I had eaten breakfast. I had not. We split the second almond claw. Nolan came for the remaining box just after 6. He arrived alone in his work clothes, sleeves rolled to the elbows, tie loosened. He stood in the entryway with one hand in his pocket. "Hi, Marlene. Hi. Paige said the linens were ready." "They've been ready since March." He nodded, as if he deserved that. I moved aside. Nolan went into the dining room and bent to lift the box. He was a quiet man, not shy exactly, but careful. At family dinners, he watched people finish speaking before he started, a habit so rare it could be mistaken for passivity. "Do you need help?" I asked. "I've got it." Unlike Paige, he did. At the door, he stopped. She showed me the dress. "I'm glad it fits. Thank you for fixing it." "You're welcome." He shifted the box against his chest. "I'm sorry about all of this." I looked at him. "Which part?" His eyes dropped to the tape crossing the top of the box. "The way you found out." "That is a very specific apology. I don't want to speak for Paige. You're getting married. People will expect you to occasionally." He gave a tired half smile. "I told her she should talk to you before invitations went out. But you agreed I shouldn't be there. I agreed that the wedding couldn't become another fight between you and Richard. I wasn't planning one, I believe you. Did you believe that when you made the list?" He looked toward his car. "We didn't make one list together." Paige handled her side. I handled mine. That was the first crack in the word "we." She said, "We use the real guest list." He closed his eyes briefly. "She shouldn't have said that. Did she make the decision alone?" "No, I knew. I didn't stop it. It was not absolution, but it was more honesty than anyone else had offered." "Your mother wanted me excluded?" "My mother wanted no conflict. She thought fewer moving parts would help." "I'm a moving part? That's not how I would put it. How would you?" He considered the question. "I don't know yet." From inside the box came the faint slide of folded fabric as he adjusted his grip. "Is the breakfast canceled?" he asked. "It's not happening here. Paige says you're forcing us to move it." Paige is right. His eyebrows lifted. "I agreed to host under one understanding. That understanding changed." He nodded slowly. "There's a restaurant 11 minutes from the hotel. My mom found it. It costs more than we planned, but they can take everyone. Then the problem is solved." "No," Nolan said. "The eggs are solved." He carried the box to his car. That night, my sister Ellen called. She did not ask how I was. She said, "Please tell me you didn't cancel the brunch." So the story had begun traveling. I changed my mind about hosting. "Paige says you're refusing to participate in anything. That isn't what happened. She says she invited you to the fitting, the dressing room, and the family breakfast, and you rejected all of it. I have not rejected the fitting." That is not what she told me. I sat at the kitchen table, looking at the empty space where the dress had been. "What did she tell you about the ceremony?" Ellen sighed. She said there were concerns. "Whose?" "Everybody's. That usually means nobody wants their name attached. Marlene, I love you, but you can be difficult. So can a locked door. You still notice when it's between you and your daughter. She's afraid you'll make a scene. She made the scene. I'm just not cleaning up after it." Ellen was silent. Then, more quietly, she said, "Are you really not going to see her in the dress?" I looked at the calendar on the wall. Thursday's appointment was still there in my handwriting. "I don't know," I said. "You should figure it out before she turns that into another thing you chose to miss." After we hung up, I stood in front of the calendar with a pen. I could cross out the fitting. I could circle it. I could leave it untouched and pretend that was not also a decision. The pen hovered until the phone rang again. This time, the name on the screen was Celeste. I let it ring 3 times before answering. "Hello, Celeste? Marlene?" Her voice was lower than usual. Celeste normally spoke with the bright certainty of someone addressing a room that had already agreed with her. "I hope I'm not calling too late. It's 8:40. I didn't know what kind of evening you were having. I'm having the kind where people call to discuss me in order of marriage." She made a small sound that might have been a laugh. "I'm not calling for Richard." "Then you're already my favorite person tonight. I heard about the breakfast." "Of course you did. And the ceremony. Did you just hear about that?" "No." The honesty caught me off guard. "How long have you known?" "Since February." I sat back down at the table. "And you didn't think I should know? I thought Paige had told you." "For 2 months?" "Richard said she was handling it. If Richard says someone is handling something, that usually means he hopes to be gone before it breaks. I'm aware of that quality. There was no affection in her voice when she said it. Not irritation either. Familiarity. "Why are you calling, Celeste? To tell you I didn't ask Paige to exclude you. Richard already told me." "He did?" "He also said you told her excluding me would make things worse." "I did." "Thank you." The words came out stiff. I was not used to thanking Celeste for anything more significant than passing salt. She said, "I realize that may sound self-serving now." It does. "I also told Richard he should call Paige and say he would attend whether or not you were there." "Did he?" "You know he didn't." The clock over my stove ticked loudly. "Why didn't you insist?" "Because I'm his wife, not his mother." That distinction has been blurred lately. She breathed in through her nose. "I'm not trying to replace you. You're being introduced as a parent of the bride." I told Paige I wasn't comfortable with that wording, and she said the introductions would be simpler if Richard and I were announced together. Simple for whom? Paige. That seems to be the answer to every question. She is the bride. Yes, not an evacuation coordinator. Celeste went quiet. I expected her to defend Paige. Instead, she said, "I liked the attention at dinner." I looked at the phone. "What?" "The story about the chicken." I told myself I was only talking about a meal Paige and I had made together, but I knew how it sounded. I knew the version she was allowing people to hear. "You never taught her that recipe." "No, you watched her make it once and suggested more salt. I suggested less salt. Then you were wrong twice." This time she did laugh softly. "I should have corrected it," she said. "Yes." "You shouldn't have done what you did either, I know. I don't think Richard does. Richard believes context is a court-appointed attorney." Another pause. "Are you going tomorrow?" she asked. "To the fitting?" "Yes." "I haven't decided. You should." Ellen said the same thing. I imagine Ellen said it with more guilt. She has range. Paige wants you there. She wants me everywhere except the room where she gets married. I'm not defending that. Then what are you defending? Nothing. I'm telling you that if you skip tomorrow, it will hurt you too. I did not answer. Celeste's voice softened. "She called me after she left your house. She was furious. Then she spent 20 minutes talking about the dress and whether you would like it. Why isn't she asking you to go?" "She did." I declined. That surprised me more than anything else she had said. Why? "Because it is not my place." "But the program is?" I said I wasn't comfortable with that. "That's not the same as refusing." "No," she said, "it isn't." For once, neither of us reached for a cleaner version of ourselves. "I'm going to tell Paige I won't be introduced that way," Celeste said. "Because I canceled breakfast? Because I should have told her sooner. Richard will be angry." "Yes. You sound remarkably calm about that. I'm not on the porch with him." I smiled despite myself. "Good night, Celeste." "Good night, Marlene." I stood in front of the calendar again. The pen was still in my hand. I drew one line beneath the fitting. At 4:20 the next afternoon, I parked outside a bridal boutique called Vow and Vine. I had passed it twice because the sign was white lettering on clear glass, an excellent choice if the business wanted to remain undiscovered. Inside, everything was pale. Pale rugs, pale chairs, pale flowers arranged in pale ceramic bowls. Even the woman at the front desk wore beige. "You must be Marlene," she said. I wondered what description had preceded me. I must. "I'm Andrea. Paige is in the fitting room. Cynthia is already here." Of course Cynthia was. Nolan's mother rose from a curved sofa near the mirrors. She wore camel-colored trousers and a silk blouse with tiny blue birds on it. Cynthia always looked ready to moderate a panel on tasteful living. "Marlene," she said, opening her arms. I accepted a brief hug that smelled like expensive citrus. "I'm so glad you came." I said I might. "Paige was certain you wouldn't. Paige has been certain of many things this week." Cynthia's smile tightened. Andrea gestured toward a chair. "Would you like champagne?" "No, thank you." "Water? Tea? Do you have coffee?" She looked startled. I can check. Water is fine. Cynthia waited until Andrea walked away. I'm sorry about the confusion with the invitations. There was no confusion. I mean the family situation. That is less a situation than a decision. I understand you're upset. Do you? Her gaze moved toward the fitting room curtain. I understand that this is painful. Painful is a root canal. This required a committee. I don't want to argue with you. Then we agree on something. The curtain opened before Cynthia could answer. Paige stepped out in her wedding dress. All the sentences I had prepared disappeared. The dress was ivory with a wide, square neckline and long, fitted sleeves. It did not sparkle. There was no lace. The skirt fell cleanly from her waist and moved around her like water when she stepped onto the platform. Her hair was clipped loosely behind her head. She wore no makeup. She looked nervous and tired and beautiful in a way that had nothing to do with the dress. She looked at Cynthia first, then me. Well, I stood. The sleeves are right. Paige's mouth opened. Cynthia glanced at me. I walked closer. They make the whole thing look clean. You were right not to add lace. You said lace would soften it. I was wrong. She turned toward the 3-panel mirror. Does the neckline look too severe? No. It looks like you. I don't know if that's a compliment. It is today. Her eyes met mine in the mirror. Andrea returned with water and a small tray of pins. The waist still needs to come in a 1/4 inch, she said, and we're deciding whether to take 1/2 inch from the front hem. Paige lifted the skirt slightly. Mom. Andrea waited. I crouched near the platform, careful not to touch the fabric. The shoes, I said. What? You need to put on the shoes before anyone touches the hem. They're the same height as the fitting shoes. Same advertised height or actual height? Paige looked at Andrea. Andrea said, actual shoes would be better. They're in my car. I'll get them, Cynthia offered. No, Paige said. Mom knows where I put them. I did not. She had confused my car with hers, something she had done since she started driving. I went outside, found her sedan, and used the key fob she tossed me through the boutique door. The shoes were in the back seat beneath a canvas bag containing 3 notebooks and a package of ribbon. When I returned, Paige was talking quietly with Cynthia. They stopped as I approached. Don't do that, I said. Do what? Paige asked. Become silent because I entered the room. We were discussing the brunch. I'm thrilled the eggs survived. Cynthia stepped in. I found a restaurant that can accommodate everyone. It is more formal than Paige wanted, but they've been very gracious. I'm glad. They'll need the final count by Monday. I won't be attending. Paige looked at me sharply. You're not coming to that either. I assumed the breakfast was for the wedding guests. It's family. I'm family when there's no audience. Andrea pretended to be deeply occupied with a pincushion. Paige stepped down from the platform. You said hosting was the problem. Hosting was one problem. So now you're just withdrawing from everything? I came today. Because Celeste told you to? I stared at her. How did you know she called? She called me afterward. Did she tell you what she said? She said she wasn't going to be introduced with Dad. Cynthia lowered her eyes. And how did you respond? I asked. I told her she was overreacting. Of course. Now I have to redo the entrance order and tell the coordinator. You keep describing honesty as paperwork. I am trying to keep this wedding from falling apart. Your wedding is not falling apart because Celeste won't pretend to be your mother. I never asked her to pretend. You asked me to disappear. Paige looked toward Andrea. Can we have a minute? Andrea immediately walked to the front desk. Cynthia did not move. Cynthia, Paige said. Her future mother-in-law hesitated, then followed Andrea. Paige stood in the middle of the pale room in her wedding dress, arms hanging rigidly at her sides. I wanted one day without having to manage you and Dad, she said. Did you ask him to behave? I asked both of you. What did you ask him? She looked away. Paige. I asked if he could be civil. And? He said he didn't trust you not to start something. What did you ask me? You didn't give me the chance. You had 2 months. I knew what you'd say. You knew what he'd say, too. He would have refused to come. And you thought I would accept whatever peace you offered. I thought you would understand. Why? Because you know what he's like. There it was. The sentence that had governed our family for years. Richard could not be expected to change because everyone knew what he was like. I could be expected to absorb the cost because everyone knew what I was like, too. Paige's eyes filled, though her voice stayed hard. I thought you loved me enough to do this. I do love you enough, I said. That's why you decided I was the cheaper parent to lose. Paige flinched, as if I had slapped her. That's not what this is. Then tell me what it is. I'm trying to have my father at my wedding, at the cost of your mother, at the cost of one ceremony. You keep shrinking it when you talk to me, because you keep making it bigger. She turned toward the mirror. The dress caught the light without reflecting it, ivory against all that white. Her face looked very young above it, which annoyed me. Paige was 35. She was not a frightened girl trapped between two impossible parents. She was a woman making a choice and asking me to treat her like a child so she would not have to own it. Then her breath hitched. She reached behind her, fingers searching for the zipper. It's tight. The seamstress pinned the waist. I can't breathe. You can breathe. I can't. I stepped behind her and loosened the temporary clips Andrea had placed along the back. One pin caught in the lining. Paige twisted. Stand still. It hurts. I know. Stop moving. She obeyed. I freed the pin, opened the zipper 2 inches, and placed my palm between her shoulder blades. Slow breath. Her ribs expanded beneath the dress. Again. The room stayed quiet except for the soft, mechanical hum of the lights. I could see both of us in the mirror. Paige in ivory, me behind her in an old green cardigan, one hand on the daughter who had asked me not to witness the moment she became a wife. I'm sorry, she whispered. I did not know which thing she meant. For what? I don't know. That's not an apology. I know. Her eyes met mine in the glass. Will you stay until they finish? Yes. I zipped the dress enough to keep it secure, then called Andrea back. Cynthia returned with her, expression carefully neutral. The rest of the fitting took 40 minutes. I helped Paige into the correct shoes. Andrea adjusted the hem and marked the waist. Cynthia made notes about pickup times and steaming instructions. Nobody mentioned the ceremony again. When Paige went behind the curtain to change, I sat beside Cynthia on the curved sofa. She looked beautiful, Cynthia said. She did. You must be very proud. It was a harmless sentence. I hated it anyway. Paige emerged wearing her work clothes, carrying the dress bag Andrea had provided for accessories. Her eyes were dry. Do you want to get dinner? She asked me. The question felt like a door opening 1 inch. Tonight? You and me. There's a place across the street. Cynthia busied herself with her phone. I wanted to say yes. I wanted a booth, bad iced tea, and 40 minutes in which we talked about anything except lists. But dinner would let us pretend the fitting had settled something. I have plans with Ruth. I lied. Paige nodded too quickly. Okay. Another night. Sure. She thanked Andrea, hugged Cynthia, and walked me to the door. Outside, the late afternoon had turned windy. A receipt blew across the parking lot and caught beneath a parked SUV. Paige held her hair away from her face. Will you come to the hotel before the ceremony? No. She stared at me. I thought today might have changed your mind. It changed some things. Which things? I'm glad I saw you in the dress, but you won't come help me get ready, not if I'm expected to leave before the wedding begins. You wouldn't have to leave right away. When would I leave? Her gaze shifted toward the boutique windows. Before Dad comes for the first look. So you have scheduled the handoff. Why do you have to call it that? What do you call it? I thought we could have a few hours together, in a hotel room where nobody sees me before I'm removed for your father. I want you there. Then invite me. I can't. You can. You won't. She crossed her arms. Dad will back out. That is his choice. And if he does, I'll remember that every time I look at the pictures. If I agree, you think I won't? The wind lifted the edge of her blouse. "This is not how I wanted today to end," she said. "Neither is the wedding." I walked to my car. Marlene. Cynthia was standing outside the boutique. Paige looked from her to me, then said she needed to get back inside to confirm the pickup date. It was not convincing, but it gave us the sidewalk. Cynthia waited until the door closed behind Paige. "I owe you an apology. That makes 2 women today who don't know which part to choose. I advised her to reduce the opportunities for conflict. You advised her not to invite me. I said that if Richard and Celeste would not attend with you there, she had to decide which arrangement created the least volatility. Volatility is a lovely word. It makes me sound flammable. I didn't mean it that way. How did you mean it?" She tucked her hair behind one ear. Even in the wind, Cynthia looked composed. "My family handles conflict privately. So does mine. That's why it fermented for 30 years. We would not confront someone during an engagement dinner. You're right. I was wrong to do that." My agreement unsettled her. But I continued. "Your solution was to remove the person who said the impolite truth and keep the person who created it. I did not know the history. You still don't. Paige told us enough. Paige told you the version that made her decision reasonable." That may be true. Again, I was disarmed by someone refusing the defense I expected. Cynthia folded her arms against the cold. "Nolan is upset with me." "Why?" "He thinks I involved myself in something I didn't understand." "He's right." "Yes. And yet you're still explaining." "I suppose I am." We stood there while a woman in a red coat crossed the lot carrying a garment bag over her head to protect it from the wind. Cynthia said, "I thought I was helping her have a peaceful day." "You were. Peace is easy when the person being hurt isn't allowed in the room." She looked toward the boutique. "I'll tell Paige that my advice was unfair. That won't change her decision." "No." "Then why tell her? Because it's true." I studied her. I had wanted Cynthia to be shallow and controlling. It would have made everything easier. Instead, she was a woman who had offered bad advice with good intentions and was capable of admitting it one day later than it mattered. "Thank you," I said. She nodded. I went home and called Ruth to apologize for using her as a fictional dinner engagement. "Did we go somewhere nice?" she asked. "A diner." "You could have respected me enough to lie about seafood." The next evening, Daniel and Simone appeared with 2 pizzas and a bottle of red wine. "I didn't invite you," I said. Daniel held up the pizzas. "We brought our own admission." Simone kissed my cheek. "Do we have to discuss the wedding before I eat?" "No," I said. "Yes," Daniel said at the same time. We ate at the kitchen table. Simone told me about a man at her office who had replied to an email intended for one person and accidentally sent his opinion of the entire department to the entire department. Daniel described a plumbing repair that had begun with one dripping faucet and ended with a hole in their dining room ceiling. For 20 minutes, we were a normal family. Then Daniel put down his 3rd slice. "I'm thinking of not going." Simone looked at him. "You said you were going," she said. "I said I hadn't decided. You told me which suit you were wearing. That's not legally binding." I folded my napkin. "Why wouldn't you go?" He looked uncomfortable. "Because of you. I am not a medical condition. You know what I mean. It feels wrong." "Did it feel wrong before I canceled breakfast?" His cheeks colored. "Yes." "Not wrong enough to say anything. I told Paige she should invite you. Did you tell her you wouldn't attend if she didn't?" "No." "Then you and your father showed her the same thing." "That's not fair." "Probably not." Simone reached for the wine and poured more into my glass. "I told him to wait until he knew what he actually wanted," she said. Daniel frowned. "Whose side are you on?" "The side that eats before the pizza gets cold." I looked at my son. Daniel had Richard's eyebrows and my habit of rubbing his thumb along the edge of a napkin when he was anxious. "Do you want to go?" "It doesn't matter." "It does." "I don't want to hurt you." "That is not the same answer." He looked at Simone, then back at me. "Yes, I want to go." The truth hurt more than the polite hesitation, but at least it did not insult me. Then go. His shoulders loosened. The relief was immediate. He tried to hide it by reaching for his wine. You're sure? No, but go anyway. If you want me to stay home, I will. That would make your absence my decision. I'm not carrying everybody's decisions anymore. It wouldn't be your fault. You just said you'd do it if I wanted. He leaned back. I don't know how to do this right. There may not be a right way. That's not helpful. I'm off duty. Simone smiled into her wine. Daniel looked toward the empty dining room. Paige says you're not coming to the fitting. I went yesterday. His eyebrows rose. She didn't tell me that. She may not have updated the prosecution. Did it go okay? Her dress is beautiful. That's not what I asked. It's what I'm willing to answer. He nodded slowly. After dinner, Simone washed dishes while Daniel dried. I let them, though he put 2 plates in the wrong cabinet. When they were ready to leave, he hugged me longer than usual. I do think she's wrong, he said into my hair. I know. I'm not choosing her. You are choosing to attend her wedding. Isn't that the same thing? No. He pulled back, searching my face for absolution. I could have made it easy for him. That was the role I understood best. It still hurts, I said. His eyes lowered. I know. He and Simone left. Through the front window, I watched them sit in their car talking before they pulled away. On the kitchen counter, Daniel had forgotten his phone. It lit up with a message from Paige. Did she buy it? Will she let you go without making this about her? I did not touch the phone. I stood there until the screen went dark, then called Daniel's number from mine and listened to it ring between us. The sound came from the kitchen counter. Daniel's car had barely reached the corner when he answered through the speaker of the phone he had left behind. Mom, your phone is here. There was a pause. Oh, come back. I can get it tomorrow. No, come back. He must have heard something in my voice because the car reappeared less than a minute later. Simone stayed in the passenger seat while Daniel came inside. His eyes went straight to the phone. What happened? I stepped aside. The screen was dark now. He picked it up, pressed his thumb to the glass, and saw Paige's message. The color left his face. Mom. I didn't open it. It lit up. I know. What was I supposed to buy? He stared at the words as though rearranging them might help. It isn't what it sounds like. That sentence has never rescued anyone. Paige knew I was coming over. I gathered that. She asked me to talk to you. About what? About the wedding. About me going. So tonight was an assignment. No. She sent you to find out whether I would let you attend, and then she asked whether I bought your performance. It wasn't a performance. Then what was I supposed to buy? Daniel dropped into a chair. She thought you would make me choose. I didn't. I know. You thought I would too. He rubbed both hands over his face. I didn't know what you would do. You brought pizza. I was already coming. Were you? Yes. Simone ordered it before Paige called. It was such a specific detail that I believed him. What did Paige ask you to say? She wanted me to explain that everybody going to the wedding didn't mean they agreed with excluding you. That sounds almost reasonable. She also wanted me to make sure you weren't going to punish me afterward. How? I don't know. Stop inviting us over. Hold it against me. I told you to go. You also said it hurt. Those facts are allowed to exist together. I know that now. Now? Mom, you have spent my entire life saying you're fine when you aren't. I don't always know what you mean when you say something. That stopped me. Daniel looked down at the phone. She said, Did she buy it? Because she thinks when I told you I wanted to go, you'd see it as me trying to stay neutral. Were you? No. I was trying to tell the truth without losing you. You're not going to lose me. You don't know what you look like right now. What do I look like? Like I already disappointed you beyond repair. I sat across from him. You disappointed me. That is not the same as being beyond repair. Does it feel different from where you're sitting? Yes. He met my eyes. Then why doesn't it feel different from here? I wanted to tell him that was his guilt, not my doing. Maybe it was. But guilt rarely belongs to one person cleanly. Families pass it around like a serving dish and act surprised when everyone's fingerprints are on it. Because we're not very good at this yet, I said. At what? Letting each other tell the truth without treating it like a threat. His phone vibrated in his hand. Paige again. Well? He turned the screen toward me before he could stop himself. I laughed once. There was nothing funny in it. You should answer her. What do I say? That's your decision. He typed, erased it, then typed again. I watched his face, not the screen. A second later, my own phone rang. Paige. I declined the call. Daniel looked up. She knows you saw it. Good. I told her. That was fast. I wasn't going to lie. No. You were just going to leave your phone and let modern technology expose you. Apparently. It was the closest we came to laughing. Outside, Simone tapped the car horn once. Daniel stood. I'm sorry. For leaving the phone, for letting Paige turn this into a strategy. You let her because you wanted something too. Yes. Thank you for saying that. He put the phone in his pocket. Are we okay? No. His face fell. But we will be. He nodded. This time, when he hugged me, I hugged him back. After the door closed, Paige called twice more. Then she left a voicemail. I cannot believe Daniel showed you a private message. We were trying to keep him out of the middle, and now you've managed to make him feel terrible about attending his own sister's wedding. Please don't call me tonight. I mean it. She had called me 3 times to tell me not to call her. I deleted nothing. The next morning, an email arrived from Nolan with the subject line, Updated Sunday Breakfast Location. It went to 28 addresses. The restaurant had confirmed the reservation. Guests were asked to reply with dietary restrictions by Monday. The second paragraph said, due to an unexpected change in availability at Marlene's home, we've relocated the family breakfast. It was mild. It was polite. It was also vague enough to suggest a burst pipe, an illness, or a sudden infestation. I read the sentence 4 times. Then replies began appearing. Thanks for the update. Looks lovely. Hope everything is okay with Marlene. My cousin Louise sent only a red heart and the words, praying for you. I started a reply to Nolan, deleted it, started another, and called Ruth. Is this an actual emergency? She asked. Why does everyone think I need an actual emergency before 9? Because you usually respect breakfast. I read her the email. What do you want to do? She asked. Reply to everybody. What do you want to say? That my home is perfectly available. It's just not available to wedding guests who are coming here to describe a wedding I wasn't allowed to attend. Accurate. Too much? Wildly. I knew you'd say that. You don't have to turn an email chain into the town square. Then they get to imply something happened here. Something did happen there. You changed your mind because they changed my place in the family. I know. So I'm supposed to protect Paige again, not replying, all is not protection. It is basic civilization. I paced between the kitchen and dining room. Without the linen boxes, the room looked oddly large. What if someone asked me directly? Answer directly. What if nobody asks because they're all inventing diagnoses for me? Then enjoy the casseroles. By noon, Ellen called. I got the breakfast email. Are you all right? I'm fine. What happened at your house? Nothing happened at my house. Then why did it say, I'm not hosting because I'm not invited to the wedding? Silence. So it's true, she said. What part? That you canceled after you found out. Yes. Marlene, I gave them 3 weeks. That restaurant is expensive. I didn't choose it. Paige says you promised. Paige also let me plan breakfast while knowing I wasn't invited. She says she was afraid to tell you. Being afraid of my reaction did not improve it. Ellen lowered her voice, though there was no one with her as far as I knew. People are asking questions. Then Paige can answer them. She doesn't know what to say. That is not a problem I can solve without lying. You could say the plans changed. The plans changed because I changed them. Why are you being so rigid? Because flexible is how I ended up ironing napkins for people who made the real list. I'm on your side. You're going to the wedding. I'm allowed to care about both of you. Yes. She waited, perhaps expecting me to add something that would make attendance easier for her. I wish you weren't going, I said. Ellen inhaled sharply. But I'm not asking you to stay home. That doesn't help. It isn't supposed to help. It's the truth. After we hung up, I received 3 more messages. Louise asked whether I needed anything. An old family friend named Stan wrote that he was sorry to miss breakfast at my house and hoped we could catch up at the reception. Apparently no one had told him I would not be there. I answered, I won't be attending, but I hope you have a wonderful time. He responded almost immediately, Oh, I'm sorry, I misunderstood. That was all. No interrogation, no demand. Just a small acknowledgement that landed more gently than every careful explanation my family had offered. At 2, Paige came through my front door without knocking. She was still wearing her office clothes, but her hair was loose and her face was flushed. You told Ellen, she asked, and Stan. He thought I was going to the reception. Now people are calling me. What are they asking? Why my mother isn't invited. What are you telling them? That this is a private family decision. Good. You like this? No. You finally have everybody looking at me like I'm cruel, and you're enjoying it. You think I want people to know my daughter didn't invite me to her wedding? You want them to know what Dad did. I have told no one what your father did. You don't have to. You canceled the breakfast, Celeste changed the entrance, Cynthia apologized, and now Nolan keeps asking whether we made the decision for the wrong reasons. That sounds like several adults responding to their own choices. It started with you. It started when you left me off the guest list. She pressed her fingers to her temples. Daniel showed you the message. His phone showed me. It was private. It appeared on my kitchen counter. You read it. Yes. You could have looked away. I did. After I read the sentence, you always find a way to make an accident into evidence, and you always find a way to make intent irrelevant. She stared at me, breathing hard. Then her gaze moved to the garment bag hanging from the dining room doorway. My dress. Your rehearsal dress. I forgot it. I noticed. She crossed the room and took the bag down. I sent Daniel because I was afraid you'd make him feel guilty, she said. That is all that message meant. You sent him because you wanted him to attend without forcing you to defend the invitation. I shouldn't have involved him. No. And you shouldn't have looked at his phone. I didn't touch it. This is exhausting. For both of us. She held the garment bag against her body. Nolan thinks I should reconsider. My heart moved before I could stop it. Do you? Paige looked at the floor. I think if I invite you now, everyone will say you forced me. The movement in my chest went still. You are remarkably committed to doing the wrong thing for reasons that make you look powerless. Her eyes filled with anger. And if I invited you, would you even come? I did not answer quickly enough. Paige gave a bitter little nod. That's what I thought. She walked out with the dress. I followed as far as the porch. What did you think? She opened her car door. That there is no answer I can give you now that lets me have my mother back without admitting you won. Then she drove away, leaving me with the ugly truth that some part of me did want exactly that. I stayed on the porch until Paige's taillights disappeared. Winning had not been the word I would have chosen, but once she said it, I could see the little trophies I had been collecting. Cynthia's apology, Celeste changing the entrance, Nolan questioning the list, every person who learned what happened and paused before answering Paige. None of it put my name on the invitation. I went inside and called Ruth. You left the wrong kind of pastries yesterday, I said. I'm hanging up. I need you to tell me something unpleasant. That narrows it down. I told her what Paige had said. Ruth was quiet long enough that I checked the screen to make sure the call had not dropped. Do you want to go to the wedding? She asked. Yes. Do you want Paige to admit she was wrong more? That's not fair. Then say no. I sat at the kitchen table. No. Good. Do you want to go if she only invites you because other people pressured her? No. Do you want to go if she invites you because she's afraid you'll keep telling the truth? No. Do you want to go if she says, I want my mother there, but I'm still angry? I looked toward the dining room. Sunlight made a bright rectangle on the rug where the linen boxes had been. Yes. There's your answer. It doesn't feel complete. Most answers aren't. I want her to understand what she did. She may understand later. The wedding only happens once. So does this week. You can spend it waiting for a confession or making sure you've said what is true. I already said what's true. You said a lot of true things with blades attached. I rested my forehead against my hand. I apologized for the dinner. To her. Yes. For what? The timing. Embarrassing her. Did you apologize for using her celebration to punish Richard? I lifted my head. I wasn't punishing Richard. Marlene. He was taking credit for my life. And you wanted it taken away in front of people he wanted to impress. I hated that Ruth could be right without making Richard less wrong. I'm not going to apologize for correcting a lie. Then apologize for choosing that table. I did. Did you tell Paige you understood why it made her afraid you'd do it again at the wedding? No. Do you? I wouldn't do it again. That isn't what I asked. I rubbed at the scratch in the tabletop with my thumb. Yes, I said. I understand why she's afraid. Tell her that without adding the part where she's worse. She is worse. Save it for me. I enjoy judging people. I smiled in spite of myself. What if she still doesn't invite me? Then you'll know you stopped trying to win before she chose to lose you. After we hung up, I opened my messages to Paige. I typed 3 versions. The first was too cold. The second sounded like a hostage negotiator. The third included the phrase, despite everything you have done, which Ruth would have identified as a blade. I deleted them all and called. Paige did not answer. I left a voicemail. I'm not calling to argue. I understand why the engagement dinner made you afraid I might confront your father again. I used your celebration to say things I wanted him to hear, and that was wrong. If you invite me to the wedding because you want me there, I will come. I will be civil to your father and Celeste. I won't discuss the past. I won't make a speech, correct a toast, or tell anybody why the breakfast moved. I also won't come only to the hotel and leave before the ceremony. I'm your mother for the whole day, or I stay home. You don't have to answer tonight. I listened to the recording once before sending it. My voice sounded tired, honest, but tired. Then I called Richard. He answered with suspicion already in his voice. What happened? Nothing. You don't call when nothing happened. I'm calling about the wedding. He sighed. Marlene. Do you want to spend the next 10 minutes assuming what I'm going to say, or can I say it? Go ahead. If Paige invites me, I will not confront you. I won't discuss the engagement dinner or our marriage. I won't correct you unless you claim to be the first man on the moon. Is that supposed to reassure me? It's the best guarantee you're getting. He was silent. Will you attend if I'm there? I asked. That isn't up to me now. It was up to you when you told Paige you might not. I told you I never gave her an ultimatum. You gave her the ingredients and let her bake it. I expressed a concern. I'm removing the concern. I will be civil. Will you? I can be civil. Then tell Paige, what are you doing? Asking to attend my daughter's wedding. No, you're moving pieces around. I am calling the man whose discomfort was used to exclude me. You could have called me before turning the breakfast into a family scandal. The breakfast is not a scandal. Louise called Celeste to ask if you were sick. Louise thinks prayer is a fact-finding method. People are talking. Then help Paige give them a better ending. Richard was quiet again. In the background, I heard a cabinet close. Celeste is here, he said. Tell her I said hello. She can hear you. Then hello, Celeste. Hello, Marlene, Celeste called from a distance. Richard lowered his voice. You really won't start anything? I won't even finish anything. This isn't a joke. I know. What if someone asks why you aren't in the entrance? Then I'll say Paige planned the entrances. What if you're seated away from us? I will sit where I'm assigned. And photographs? If Paige asks me to be in them, I will. If she doesn't, I won't drag the photographer into a hedge. You say that now. The distrust in his voice was deserved in one narrow way and insulting in every other. I made one scene, I said. You built a personality for me out of it because that is more convenient than remembering the 30 years when I prevented yours. That's exactly the kind of comment I'm talking about. And I said it to you in private, 3 weeks before the wedding. Look at me learning. Celeste laughed in the background. Richard did not. I'll tell Paige I'm willing to attend if you are, he said. Thank you. You're putting her in a difficult position. She already chose one. I ended the call before he could answer. For the first time since Daniel's invitation arrived, I felt calmer. Not hopeful exactly. I had removed the easiest excuse, and that carried its own relief. The calm lasted 40 minutes. Paige called. Why did you call Dad? He was the reason you said I couldn't come. I said the conflict was the reason. We both agreed to be civil. You cornered him. I called him in his own home. You made him feel like if he still objected, everybody would blame him. Would he still object? That isn't the point. It is very much the point. No, the point is you went around me. Again. I stood and walked to the window. Across the street, my neighbor was dragging a garden hose around a shrub that had been dead since winter. I called the other person involved in the conflict. It's my wedding. I'm the person involved. Then tell me what you want. I want one day where I don't have to monitor the room. You won't. How do I know that? I gave you my word. You gave me your word you were happy for me at the engagement dinner. I was happy for you, and then you blew it up. I told you in my voicemail that I understand why you're afraid. Your voicemail sounded like a legal statement. It took me 3 tries. What? Nothing. She was breathing quickly again. Dad said he would come if you were there, she said. Yes. Celeste won't be introduced with him. Cynthia says she never should have advised me to limit the guest list. Nolan thinks we made the decision too fast. And what do you think? I think everyone gets to change their mind except me. You get to change yours. No. I get to surrender. Inviting your mother is not surrender. It is now. Because you made it a contest. You did that when you canceled the breakfast. I canceled after you excluded me. And now every decision I make looks like a response to you. Then stop thinking about how it looks. That is easy for you to say. You've made sure everyone knows. I answered people who asked me. You wanted them to ask. There was truth in that too. Yes, I said. She went silent. I wanted someone to look at this and say it was wrong. I wanted proof that I wasn't being unreasonable. Thank you. That doesn't make the decision right. I didn't say it did. You're still not answering me. Forget everybody else. Do you want me there? Her voice dropped. I wanted you there before the engagement dinner. That isn't an answer about now. No, she said. Right now, I'm angry enough that I don't know what I want. It was the first thing she had said that did not sound prepared. I sat down. Then don't answer tonight. The final count is due Monday. It's Thursday. I have 4 days to decide whether I'm a terrible daughter or a weak one. You have 4 days to decide whether you want your mother at your wedding. She began to cry, quietly and furiously. I hate how simple you make it sound. It isn't simple. You act like I can just put you in a chair and nothing else changes. A great deal has already changed. Do you know what Nolan asked me last night? No. He asked why I was more afraid of disappointing Dad than losing you. I closed my eyes. What did you tell him? I told him I wasn't going to lose you. Neither of us spoke. Outside, the garden hose slipped free and sprayed water across the sidewalk. Finally, I said, You were very sure. I have to go. Paige, I heard your voicemail. The call ended. Monday came with no invitation. At 4:50 that afternoon, Nolan's email confirming the final head count appeared in my inbox by mistake. My name was not on it. I did not answer anyone. I took the 2 folding tables back to Ruth's house, carried one in each trip, and left them in her garage where they had waited for a breakfast that would happen without me. Ruth found me leaning the second table against her garage wall. "You brought those back by yourself? They were mine to return. They also weigh 40 pounds each, 36. You weighed them?" "The label is underneath." She took my wrist and turned my hand over. A red line crossed my palm where the metal edge had pressed into it. "You could have asked me to help. I'm trying to reduce the number of things I ask people to do." "That sounds healthy and deeply annoying." I pulled my hand away. The final count went in. I assumed. "How? You're returning furniture like it betrayed you." She closed the garage door. I followed her through the side entrance into a kitchen that always smelled faintly of toast, even when no one had made any. 3 ceramic roosters watched us from the windowsill. "I have an idea for the wedding day," she said. "No, you don't know the idea. It involves distracting me. It involves an estate sale in Rockford and lunch at a place that serves pie by the quarter. I'm not leaving town so I can pretend I don't know my daughter is getting married. We would be gone 6 hours, not entering witness protection. I want to be home." "Why?" "Because it's my home." That is not an answer. It's the only one you're getting. Ruth filled 2 glasses from the tap and handed me one. "You think sitting alone in your house will prove something?" "No. You think if you suffer correctly, the universe has to notarize it. I don't know what that means. It means come eat pie. I'll think about it." She pointed at me. "That is progress. It's avoidance with good posture. I'll take it." At home, I began undoing the breakfast. I returned the coffee urn I had borrowed from Ellen. I canceled an order for 4 dozen rolls, though the bakery kept the deposit because I had missed the refund deadline by 1 day. I moved 2 bags of frozen hash browns from the basement freezer upstairs so I would remember to use them. The handwritten menu came off the refrigerator, leaving a pale square where the sun had not reached the paint. These were small tasks. That made them worse. Grief should require candles or black clothing. Mine required calling a bakery and explaining I no longer needed pastries for 32. The family message thread remained active. Paige sent reminders about transportation from the hotel, the rehearsal time, and the Sunday breakfast reservation. I muted it without leaving. Leaving would announce itself. On Wednesday, Daniel texted, "Can I call, or are we in a texting phase?" I replied, "You can call." He called immediately. "Simone says that sounded needy," he said. "Simone is right. You like her better than me. Some weeks." He cleared his throat. "Nolan called me. I don't want you carrying messages." "I'm not. You started with Nolan called me. He asked if you would come if Paige invited you. He should ask Paige." I told him that. "Good." Then I said yes. I closed the cupboard I was reorganizing. "You answered for me?" "You left Paige a voicemail saying you would." That was before the final count. A final count is not a blood oath. The venue can add 1 chair. It isn't about the chair. I know. Do you? "No," he admitted. "Not all of it." I leaned against the counter. What did Nolan want? He and Paige are fighting. That is not my business. "I know, but part of the fight is Daniel. He thinks she should invite you. She thinks he's only saying that because his mother apologized and he wants to look morally consistent. That sounds like Paige. He also said she keeps changing the reason you're not invited." I did not answer. "First it was Dad," Daniel continued. "Then it was the engagement dinner. Now she says changing the list would make her look weak. You really aren't good at not carrying messages. I thought you should know. Why? So you understand that people are still trying. People? Nolan. Celeste. Me. Is Paige trying?" He was quiet. "That's why I didn't need to know," I said. "She's overwhelmed. She arranged a wedding. Overwhelmed came with the deposit. That's cold. It's tired. Would you rather nobody talk to her? I would rather you stop treating her decision like weather. She isn't being carried away by a storm. She is choosing. She's my sister and my daughter. I'm allowed to think she's wrong without wanting her punished forever. So am I. The line went silent. I softened my voice. I don't want you in the middle. I'm already in the middle. Then step out. How? Go to the wedding. Love your sister. Stop reporting her marriage to me and my pain to her. I haven't told her anything you said. You let her send you to find out whether I would let you go. I apologized for that, and I accepted it. Now don't do it again. He exhaled. Okay. Are you all right? No. There was a brief pause. Thank you for not saying fine, he said. After we hung up, I took the muted family thread out of the archive and looked at it. Paige's last message was a photograph of small jars of honey lined up across Cynthia's dining table. Gold ribbon was tied around each lid. Favors done, she had written. Ellen had responded with 6 hearts. Louise wrote, sweet beginning. I zoomed in on the photograph. One ribbon was crooked. I almost messaged Paige to tell her. Then I put the phone face down. At 7 that evening, the doorbell rang. Nolan stood on the porch beside a large cardboard box. This was delivered here, he said. The label had his name and my address. Paige must have ordered it before the breakfast collapsed. What is it? Welcome signs. Maybe menus. Honestly, I'm no longer sure. I thought I banned brunch so hard. You did. I respected the ruling. I opened the door wider. You can set it inside while you move your car closer. I can carry it. I'm sure you can, but it's starting to rain. He brought the box into the entryway. The first drops tapped against the porch roof. I didn't come just for this, he said. I looked at him. You should have. I wanted to talk. If Paige sent you, she doesn't know I'm here. That isn't better, I know. Rain began falling harder, silver lines visible beneath the porch light. Are you going to marry my daughter in 10 days? I asked. Yes. Then you should not start secret meetings with her mother. He winced. Can I have 5 minutes? 3. He stayed standing. I did too. I think you should be at the wedding, he said. That is an opinion to give Paige. I have. Repeatedly. According to Daniel, nobody in this family can keep a conversation between 2 people. Welcome. He glanced down at the box. I didn't understand what I was agreeing to. You knew I wasn't invited. I knew Paige didn't want the engagement dinner repeated. She said Richard would refuse to attend and that you would still be with her at the hotel and breakfast. So the ceremony was presented as a compromise. Yes, and that seemed fair to you. At the time. What changed? Everything after. She said you didn't care about the wedding, only about confronting Richard. Then you repaired her dress. She said you wanted to punish her, but you gave us notice about the breakfast and returned everything. She said you were refusing all contact, but you went to the fitting. None of that makes me harmless. No. But every time you did something that didn't fit the explanation changed. I folded my arms. Do you want me there because you think Paige is wrong? Or because you're afraid of marrying someone who can do this? His eyes lifted to mine. Both. It was an answer I had not expected him to give. You should be afraid of both of us, I said. Paige learned how to make family pain look reasonable from somewhere. You mean you and Richard. She says he was a better father than you make him sound. He was a better father than he sometimes behaved, and a worse one than she sometimes remembers. That is annoyingly balanced. I'm trying something new. He nodded toward the living room. Can we sit? You have 90 seconds. We sat on opposite ends of the sofa. What exactly happened at the engagement dinner? He asked. You were there. I saw what you did. I don't know why. So I told him. Not the version in which I had bravely corrected Richard. Not Paige's version in which I had exploded without warning. I told him how long I had covered, how satisfying it felt for one ugly minute to expose Richard, and how unfair it was to use Paige's dinner as the stage. I wanted him embarrassed, I said. Paige was damage I decided I could apologize for later. Nolan looked toward the dark window. She thinks if she gives in now, you'll believe what you did worked. Part of me will. He turned back. You admit that? I'm tired of everyone requiring me to be pure before my hurt counts. That isn't what I'm doing. It's what Paige is doing. If I wanted vindication, then exclusion becomes justified. If I canceled breakfast partly because I wanted her to feel consequences, then she becomes the injured person. Both motives can be true. So can both injuries. He sat with that. I don't know how to help her. Stop trying to solve her. I'm marrying her. That does not grant you repair permissions. What do I do? Tell her the truth about what you can live with, then let her choose. And if she chooses wrong, you decide what it tells you. You don't make her choose again until you like the answer. He looked at his hands. That sounds lonely. It is. The rain softened. Nolan stood. I'm sorry I came without telling her. Tell her. She'll think you're turning me against her. Then be very clear that you arrived pre-turned. He laughed despite himself. At the door, he lifted the box. Leave it, I said. You'll slip on the steps. I can pull the car up. Fine. While he moved the car, my phone lit with Paige's name. I answered. Is Nolan there? Yes. He told me he was going. That was fast. He called from the driveway. I looked through the glass. Nolan was sitting behind the wheel with the headlights on. What did you say to him? She asked. The truth. Which version? The one where I was wrong at the engagement dinner and you are wrong now. She was quiet. He says he doesn't want to start our marriage with an empty chair everyone knows should be yours. My throat tightened. What did you tell him? That the chair isn't empty. We finalized the seating. There was my daughter using furniture to avoid the question. Paige. What? Do you want me there? You keep asking like the answer exists separately from everything you've done since. It does. No, Mom, it doesn't. Nolan pulled up near the porch. I watched him get out into the rain. Paige's voice changed. Are you planning to turn him against me? No. Because he was on my side before he started talking to you. He is not a side. He is the man you're marrying. You like him more now that he agrees with you. Yes, I said. That is one of my less attractive qualities. She had no answer to that. Nolan reached the porch. I opened the door before he could knock. Paige, I said, I am handing him the box now. Then he is leaving. He will call you. Don't hang up. I stopped. Her breath trembled against the phone. I don't know how to fix this without making the wedding about you. You can't fix it before the wedding. Then what am I supposed to do? Decide what you can live with after it. I gave Nolan the box. He carried it through the rain to his car while Paige stayed silent in my ear, neither of us willing to be the one who ended the call. Are you still there? Paige asked. Yes. What would you do if I don't invite you? The question was so direct that I had to sit down. I would stay away. Would you tell everyone why? If they ask me, I won't lie. So yes, I won't call anybody. I won't post anything. I won't show up. That isn't what I mean. I know. What happens after? I looked at the clock above the stove. I don't know. You keep saying choices have consequences. What are the consequences? I can't give you a schedule for how hurt changes a relationship. You could decide not to let it. No, I can decide what I do with the hurt. I can't decide it doesn't exist. Her voice sharpened. Would you forgive me? Eventually, I hope. Eventually. You asked, what if I invite you? I come, and everything goes back to normal? No. Then what is the point? The point is that I would see you get married. That's it? That was always it. Nolan's car backed away from my curb. His tires whispered against the wet street. Paige said, I have to talk to him. Yes. Please don't contact anyone else. I didn't contact him. You contacted Dad. I won't contact anyone else. She hesitated. I'll call you. She did not say when. The family thread filled with activity over the next few days. Shuttle pickup at 3:15, rehearsal at 5, dinner at 7. Breakfast on Sunday at 9:30, not 10, because the restaurant needed the room again by noon. I read each message and then hated myself for reading it. Paige did not call. On Tuesday, Ellen invited me to lunch at her house. Louise was already there when I arrived, setting silverware around Ellen's round dining table. She hugged me for so long I began to suspect someone had told her I was terminal. "You look good," she said. "I looked good last month, too." "I know. I'm just glad." That I survived the breakfast relocation? Ellen came in carrying a bowl of pasta salad. "Can we please have one meal without sarcasm? We've never done that." Louise touched my arm. "I've been worried about you." "I'm all right. How are you feeling about Saturday?" There was no honest answer that would allow us to move smoothly to pasta. "Bad," I said. Ellen set down the bowl harder than necessary. "We don't have to discuss it." "Then why did you invite me?" "Because you're my sister. You invite me every 4 months and accidentally scheduled this lunch 4 days before the wedding?" Louise sat. "We thought you shouldn't be alone. The wedding is Saturday. Today is Tuesday." "You know what she means," Ellen said. I took my usual chair by the window. "What did Paige tell you?" Ellen and Louise exchanged a look. "That there was a disagreement," Louise said. "About your former husband. Richard? You can say his name. He hasn't become folklore. She said you decided it would be better not to attend because things became uncomfortable." I stared at her. She said I decided not to attend? Ellen sat across from me. "She said the two of you had discussed several ways for you to be involved and couldn't agree. I was not invited to the ceremony or reception." Louise's hand stopped above her napkin. "Not at all." "No. I thought you chose not to go. I chose not to help her dress in private, leave before Richard arrived, and cook breakfast the next morning." Ellen closed her eyes. "Marlene." "What?" "You said you weren't going to make people choose sides." I answered a question. "She answered mine," Louise said. "Paige is under enormous pressure. Most of it appears to be grammatical," I said. "She keeps changing verbs." Ellen pushed the pasta salad toward me. "You know what I mean. The wedding is in 4 days." "Yes, and now Louise is going to call her." "I didn't say that," Louise said. "You have your phone in your hand." Louise put it on the table. "I want to understand." "You understand," I said. "Paige excluded me because she was afraid I would fight with Richard. She offered me private pieces of the day. I said no." "And Richard is still going?" Louise asked. "Yes." "That is disgraceful. Please don't turn this lunch into a tribunal." "She's right," Ellen said. I looked at her. "You told me I was being rigid. I thought you had refused to attend after an argument. I told you I wasn't invited. You said the ceremony was the issue. I thought you meant where you would sit or how you would be introduced. Why would you think that? Because the alternative was ridiculous." Louise reached across the table and took my hand. "I'm sorry. Thank you. I don't know if I can go now. You can. I'll feel like I'm approving it. You're attending a wedding, not ratifying a treaty. What will you be doing?" "I haven't decided. Ellen served pasta salad no one wanted. We ate because refusing would have made the lunch feel even more dramatic." Halfway through, Louise said, "I may leave the reception early." "That is between you and the cake," I said. She smiled, but her eyes stayed wet. I made both women promise not to call Paige on my behalf. Ellen agreed immediately. Louise agreed after trying to replace call with reach out. "I don't want anyone lobbying for me," I said. "What if she asks what we think?" Ellen said. "Tell her. And if she gets upset, she is allowed." Ellen studied me. "You sound different. I'm tired of everybody treating upset like an emergency." My phone rang before dessert. Paige. Ellen looked at Louise. "You called her," she said. "I did not," I answered in the hallway. "Hi. Did you tell Louise I didn't invite you?" she asked. "Oh my God, she thought I decided not to go. You couldn't just say it was complicated." "It isn't." Now she texted me that she is reconsidering her attendance. She promised me she wouldn't do that. You told her not to come? I told her to come. Then why is she sending me a paragraph about conscience? Because Louise has never met a short thought. This is what I was afraid of. Everyone is turning the wedding into a vote on whether I'm a good person. You don't need a vote. I need guests. You have them. One of them just threatened to boycott. Louise will be there. She bought a dress in February and has mentioned the sleeves 6 times. This isn't funny. No. In the dining room, silverware touched plates with unnatural care. Paige lowered her voice. Nolan thinks I lied to people. Did you tell them I chose not to attend? I said we couldn't agree on an arrangement. That is not what happened. We couldn't. You never offered me a place at the wedding. I offered to have you with me that morning. That is a different event. Here we go again. You don't get to turn an inaccurate story into a compromise because accuracy is inconvenient. I was trying to protect you. From what? From people knowing. I leaned against the hallway wall. You were protecting yourself from people knowing. I was protecting both of us. No, I am embarrassed that my daughter excluded me. You are embarrassed that you did it. Those are not the same embarrassment. She said nothing. Did you call because of Louise? I asked. Yes, then call her back. Tell her you want her there. She'll ask about you. Answer her. You make it sound so easy. Stop asking me to make your decision painless. Her voice broke. I hate talking to you now. I hate this too. I have to go to the venue. I won't call anyone. She hung up. I returned to the dining room. Louise looked guilty. Ellen looked irritated. You texted her? Louise raised both hands. I did not say I wouldn't attend. I said I was struggling with what my presence communicated. That is a boycott wearing a cardigan. I was being honest. So was I. Look how well that's going. Ellen brought out a lemon cake. It leaned noticeably to one side. I tried a new recipe, she said. Why? I was tired of the old one. We ate crooked cake and stopped talking about the wedding. Ruth picked me up the next morning and drove me to the estate sale in Rockford under the pretense of scouting it early. She bought a brass lamp with no shade. I bought nothing. At lunch, she ordered 2 slices of apple pie. Saturday, she said. Same plan. We leave at 9. The ceremony is at 4. I know. I might want to be home by then. Then we'll come home. I don't want you watching me. I have a book. You'll pretend to read. I'll actually read. Your grief is repetitive. I pushed my fork through the pie crust. I don't know if leaving feels like running away. Staying can be running away. People hide in houses all the time. I thought you wanted me distracted. I want you accompanied. Different word. I looked out the diner window. 2 women were loading a cabinet into the back of a pickup truck, arguing about which side should go first. All right, I said. Ruth nodded as if we had settled the weather. By Thursday evening, my house was cleaner than it had been in years. I scrubbed the kitchen cabinet doors, reorganized the hall closet, and threw away 7 instruction manuals for appliances I no longer owned. At 8, I heated soup and carried it to the table. My phone remained silent. The rehearsal would be the next evening. Paige would wear the navy dress I had repaired. Daniel and Simone would stand somewhere nearby. Richard would tell a story. Celeste would probably correct him now, which was an improvement I resented not seeing. I had taken 2 spoonfuls when someone knocked, not the doorbell. 3 quick knocks, a pause, then 2 more. Paige's knock. I opened the door. She stood on the porch in sweatpants and a raincoat, though it was not raining. Her face was bare, her eyes swollen. She held her phone in one hand and an overnight bag in the other. Can I come in? I stepped aside. She walked past me, set the bag near the stairs, and looked around as though the house had changed. What happened? I asked. Nolan and I had a fight. Where is he? At the apartment? Does he know you're here? Yes. She folded her arms tightly across herself. Are you still eating? I was. Can I have some? I went to the stove and ladled soup into the bowl with blue flowers she always chose. I set it on the table, added a spoon, and watched my daughter sit in the place where Daniel's phone had exposed her. Paige picked up the spoon but did not eat. Mom, she said, staring into the soup, I don't know if I can marry him on Saturday. I sat across from her. Do you want to marry him? That's not the same question. It's the first one. Paige pushed the soup around without lifting the spoon. Yes, I want to marry him. Then why did you say you might not? Because he said he doesn't know if we should go through with Saturday while we're this angry. Did he say he doesn't want to marry you? No. Did he cancel anything? No. What did he actually say? She dropped the spoon into the bowl. Why are you cross-examining me? Because you came here saying your wedding might not happen, and your fiancé appears to be at home believing something different. He said we shouldn't walk into a marriage pretending this is resolved. That sounds reasonable. Her head came up. Of course you think so. I thought you came for my opinion. I came because you're my mother. The sentence landed where she intended it to. I leaned back. What do you want me to do? I don't know. Tell me it's going to be okay, is it? You always say it is. There it was again. The family job I had performed so long that retiring from it looked like cruelty. Eat your soup. I'm not hungry. You asked for it. I thought I was. Then let it sit. She shoved the bowl away. Nolan thinks I'm lying. Are you? No. Did you tell people you invited me and I chose not to come? I told them we couldn't agree. That leaves out the part where none of the arrangements included the wedding. I know. Did you tell Nolan that Richard was the reason? He was. Now Richard will attend with me there, because you called him and made him look like a coward. I didn't make him look like anything. You knew he would agree once you cornered him. I hoped he would. Exactly. That isn't a trap. It's removing an obstacle. To you. To attending. She stood and walked to the sink. Her raincoat rustled though the house was warm. Nolan said the same thing, she muttered. Then perhaps he and I form the same opinion independently. He says I'm more concerned with proving the original decision was justified than deciding whether it still is. That sounds like Nolan. You like him because he agrees with you. I already admitted that. She turned. He asked what happens the first time we have a serious fight after we're married. He asked if I'll decide what he's allowed to know, tell everybody a cleaner version, and punish anyone who corrects me. That is a larger question than the guest list. He made it larger. So did you. Her face tightened. I knew coming here was a mistake. You came here because you expected me to tell you Nolan was overreacting. I came because I needed somebody on my side. You have had people on your side for months. Not anymore. You still have people who love you. That isn't the same. No, it's better, though it feels worse. She stared at me as if I had switched languages. I got up, covered her soup with a plate, and put it in the refrigerator. Where are you going? She asked. To put away the soup. You always do this. What? Start cleaning when a conversation gets uncomfortable. I am not leaving the room. You leave without moving. I closed the refrigerator. Daniel said something similar. Daniel talks to you? He is my son. I mean, about this. He told me he never knows when I say I'm fine whether I'm actually fine. You aren't. I know that now. Do you? She took off the raincoat and draped it over a chair. Beneath it, she wore an old gray sweatshirt I recognized as Nolan's. When Dad missed things, you made excuses, she said. When you were angry, you smiled. Then one day you decided to tell the truth in front of 12 people, like we had all agreed to the trial. I know. You say that now, but you still think what you did was brave. No, part of it felt good. That isn't the same as brave. Then how was I supposed to know you wouldn't do it at the wedding? You could have asked me. I did ask you after the dinner. You said you wouldn't apologize for the truth. I apologized for the setting. You always divide things until you find the piece where you're right. I opened my mouth, then closed it. She was right often enough to be infuriating. I should have said this more clearly, I told her. I was wrong to use your engagement dinner to embarrass your father. I knew it would embarrass you, too, and in that moment, I decided exposing him mattered more. I am sorry. Her eyes filled. You've said that. Not all of it. No. I also created the version of him you're protecting. What does that mean? I spent years making his absences look accidental. I thought I was saving you from feeling rejected. Instead, I taught you that his comfort was something the rest of us arranged. That isn't my fault. No, you don't get to do that and then blame me for believing he loved me. I have never said he doesn't love you. You make every good memory sound fake. Your memories are real. So are mine. She wiped beneath one eye with the heel of her hand. I didn't want to spend my wedding day wondering when you were going to decide your version needed to be heard. I understand that. Do you? Yes. I understand why you were afraid. I do not understand why you decided fear gave you the right to erase me. I didn't erase you. You kept me for fittings, alterations, storage, breakfast, and panic. You removed me from the part other people could see. I wanted private time with you because that mattered more. Then why did you wait until after I asked about the invitation to explain it? She looked away. Because you knew it was not more, I said. It was what you thought I would accept. I thought you would love me enough to make one thing easy. I made everything easy for too long. That is not my fault either. No. The words seemed to surprise her. I am responsible for what I hid, I said. Your father is responsible for what he did. You are responsible for what you chose with the information you had. She sat again, but not at the table. She lowered herself onto the bottom stair and pressed both hands between her knees. Nolan says, we can still add you. I did not move. What are you offering? She looked up. You can come Saturday. My heart gave one hard beat. To the ceremony and reception? Yes. As your mother? What does that mean? Where would I sit? With Louise and Stan. Their table has room. At the reception. Yes, and at the ceremony, 3rd row aisle side. Where are Richard and Celeste? Front row. Who walks in with the family? Dad. Celeste is coming in with Cynthia now. And me? You could already be seated. The hope drained as quickly as it had arrived. Would I be in the family photographs? Paige stood. Why does every detail have to be a test? Because you are offering me a chair, not restoring my place. I am trying. What are the conditions? Her silence answered before she did. You can't speak to Dad unless he speaks to you first. No discussion of the engagement dinner with anyone. If you become upset, you step outside. And there would have to be no problem about the seating or pictures. No problem meaning I don't ask to be included. The photography schedule is finished. Paige. We can't rebuild the entire day 2 nights before. I did not wait until 2 nights before. I know. Do you want me there? Yes. She said it fast, almost angrily. As what? My mother. Then why are you putting me at Stan's table? Because the parents' table is full. Who is at it? Dad, Celeste, Cynthia, Stephen, Daniel, Simone, and Nolan's sister and her husband. There were 8 seats. The table was not full by architecture. It was full by decision. You could add a chair, I said. The room layout, 1 chair. I knew you would do this. Do what? Ask not to be separated from the family at my daughter's wedding? This is the invitation. These are the conditions. Can you accept them or not? I looked at her in Nolan's gray sweatshirt standing beside the bowl of soup she had not eaten. No. She closed her eyes. Unbelievable. I will not attend as a problem on probation. I'm giving you exactly what you asked for. No. You are giving Nolan proof that you tried, and giving yourself someone to blame when I say no. You said you would come if I invited you. I said I would come if you invited me because you wanted your mother there. I just said I do. Then seat me as your mother. I cannot change everything. You can change 1 chair. It isn't about the chair. No, I said. It never was. Her face crumpled, then hardened again. You're too proud. Maybe. You would rather miss my wedding than sit at the wrong table. I would rather miss it than spend the day helping you pretend the insult has been repaired. You are going to regret this for the rest of your life. I already regret it. You could stop it. So could you. For a long moment, we stood 6 feet apart in my kitchen, each of us holding the same door shut from opposite sides. Paige picked up her raincoat. Where are you going? Home. You shouldn't drive this upset. I'm fine. We both heard it. She sank back onto the stair. I sat in the chair nearest her. I love you, I said. She stared at the floor. I love you too. You can stay here tonight. Will you call Nolan? No. Why? Because you need to talk to the man you're marrying. He thinks you're right. This is not a vote. Would you tell me if you thought I shouldn't marry him? Yes. Do you? No. She looked up. Then help me. With what? Tell me how to walk into Saturday without feeling like everybody is judging me. I shook my head. I can listen to you. I can give you a bed and heat the soup again. I cannot help you prepare emotionally for a day built around pretending I am not your mother. I'm not pretending. You're asking me to act like a grateful guest while Richard is honored for raising you. I changed the introduction. The seating says it for you. She looked down again. Then I don't know what you can give me. Tonight? A place to sleep? Food? The truth. That doesn't feel like much. It costs more than you think. Paige stayed on the stairs for several minutes. Then she carried her bag to the guest room. Near midnight, I heard her talking quietly behind the closed door. I could not make out every word, but I heard Nolan's name, a long silence, and then, I do want to marry you. In the morning, the guest room bed was made. Her bowl had been washed and placed right side up in the dishwasher. A text waited on my phone. We talked. The wedding is still happening. I'm sorry about last night. I wrote, I'm glad you talked. 3 dots appeared, vanished, then appeared again. I wish you were coming. I typed, you could still make that possible. The dots did not return. That evening, while the rehearsal dinner was underway, Paige sent me a photograph directly. She was standing beside Nolan in the navy dress. The repaired seam lay smooth beneath her arm. Richard and Celeste were visible behind them, turned toward each other. Paige's smile looked real and exhausted. The dress is perfect, she wrote. I answered, you look beautiful. A minute later, she sent a heart. I placed the phone face down before anyone could send me a picture of the toast. Ruth knocked at 8 the next morning carrying coffee and wearing a yellow jacket bright enough to direct traffic. You're early, I said. You're dressed. I usually am by 8. You're wearing earrings. I wear earrings. You're wearing the pearl ones. I touched my left ear. They matched. Your sweatshirt? It's a coordinated look. She handed me coffee and inspected the kitchen as if checking for evidence of a breakdown. I had made toast, wiped the counters, and taken the hash browns from the refrigerator to thaw for no reason. 4 pounds of shredded potatoes sat beside the sink. You can stop looking, I said. I'm not looking. You counted the knives. I was admiring the block. Do you think I'm going to stab myself with a bread knife because Paige is getting married? No, you'd use the chef's knife. You respect tools. I laughed. It came out too loud. Ruth put her purse on a chair. We don't have to go anywhere. You spent 4 days trying to get me out of the house. I reserve the right to change plans when they become mine. I want to go. Good. We'll leave in 20 minutes. My phone rang. Paige. Ruth looked at the screen and reached for her purse. I'll be outside. You don't have to leave. Yes, I do. I've judged enough of your family before breakfast. She went to the porch. I answered. For a second, I saw only a hotel ceiling and the top of Paige's head. Then the phone tilted down. She was wearing a white robe, her hair partly pinned, one side curled and the other hanging straight. Hi, she said. Hi. Behind her, garment bags hung from a brass rack. Cynthia crossed the room carrying a tray of fruit. A woman I did not recognize stood near the window arranging makeup brushes. Celeste was holding Paige's wrist. We can't close the bracelet, Paige said. What bracelet? She lifted her arm toward the camera. A narrow silver chain hung around her wrist, the one I had given her when she accepted her first management job. The clasp was shaped like a tiny bar that slid through an oval loop. You have to turn the bar sideways, I said. We did. No, you're pushing it straight. Celeste leaned toward the screen. I tried turning it. You turned the loop. Turn the bar. How? I raised my own hands, miming it. Pinch the chain below the bar so it doesn't slide. Turn the bar vertical, pass it through the loop, then lay it flat. Celeste tried again. It won't fit. It fits. Paige has worn it before. I haven't worn it in years, Paige said. The jewelry did not gain weight. Cynthia laughed from across the room. Let me, Paige said. She took the bracelet from Celeste, but her nails were long and pale pink, making her fingers clumsy. I can't grip it. Give it to Cynthia. Celeste looked offended. I almost have it. You've almost had it for 6 minutes. Mom, Paige said, and for one instant it was an ordinary morning. Celeste handed the bracelet to Cynthia. Cynthia followed my instructions and slid the bar through the loop. It worked, she said. Gravity remains undefeated. Paige held up her wrist. The bracelet caught the window light. Thank you. You're welcome. Nobody spoke. The makeup woman studied her brushes. Celeste smoothed the belt of her dress. Cynthia picked up a strawberry and set it down again. Paige turned the volume lower. Where are you? Home. Are you going out? Ruth and I have plans. What plans? An estate sale and lunch. Today? That's generally when today's plans happen. She did not smile. What time will you be back? I don't know. The ceremony is at 4. I know. There is still a seat. At table 11. Yes. And 3rd row. Yes. So nothing changed. The invitation is still open. No, the conditions are still open. Her eyes moved away from the camera. I didn't call to fight. You called about the bracelet. I could have figured it out. Probably. I called because I wanted to see if you would answer. I did. You could come just to the ceremony. No, you don't have to stay for the reception. I'm not going to slip into the 3rd row, watch you get married, and leave before dinner so everyone can say you included me. That isn't why. Then move the chair. I can't do this right now. Then don't. A woman called Paige's name from somewhere outside the room. She looked toward the door. I have to get my hair finished. I know. I wish you were here. So do I. Her mouth tightened. I love you too. The screen went dark. I stood in the kitchen with the phone pressed to my palm. On the porch, Ruth pretended to be interested in the hardware on my storm door. I opened it. Ready? She asked. No. Do you want me to ask again? No. Then get your coat. The estate sale occupied a brick ranch house where every object had been labeled with blue painter's tape. $8 for a lamp, $3 for a ceramic dog, $25 for a set of mixing bowls that had been separated by color and priced individually, which Ruth called an act of violence. We moved from room to room behind strangers who opened drawers and discussed someone else's furniture. In an upstairs bedroom, I found a sewing basket almost identical to mine. Same woven lid, same faded red lining. Inside were wooden spools, a tomato-shaped pin cushion, and a thimble worn dull at the edge. $5, Ruth said over my shoulder. I have one. This one has history. So does mine. Your history is currently hostile. I put the lid back. At noon, we ate pie at the same diner. Ruth ordered cherry. I ordered apple and took 3 bites. You're checking your phone, she said. I'm checking the time. The time is printed on the wall. The clock could be wrong. It's 12:20. I know. She reached across the table and put her hand over my phone. Give it to me. No. I'll give it back at 3. I am 64 years old. Then you remember life before immediate updates. What if Paige calls? I'll answer. That is a terrible threat. I slid the phone into my purse. Ruth removed her hand. Tell me about the bracelet, she said. I looked at her. How did you know? You have the face you make when an object becomes emotional. What face? Like you're about to sue a teaspoon. I told her about the video call. You helped. She said, yes. Do you regret it? No. Good. Should I? No, but you keep acting like every kindness might violate your boundary. It's hard to know. A boundary is not a border wall. You can pass things through. You have been reading. I found a magazine in the bathroom. At 2, we left the diner. You can drive me home, I said. Are you sure? No. Ruth took the highway without asking another question. We reached my house at 3:10. She carried her book inside and sat on the sofa. I changed from the pearl earrings to small gold hoops, then wondered why I had changed anything. At 3:15, the shuttle would be leaving the hotel. At 3:30, guests would begin arriving. At 4, Paige would walk down the aisle with Richard. I knew the schedule because the family thread had delivered it to me, one reminder at a time. At 3:40, I turned off my phone. Ruth opened her book. "You don't have to stay," I said. "I know, I'm not going to do anything, I know. You could read at home. My house has roosters staring at me. That was your choice. So is this." I sat in the chair by the window. The day was bright and irritatingly beautiful. Across the street, my neighbor had finally pulled out the dead shrub. A dark circle of soil marked where it had been. At 4, the clock chimed. Nothing happened. That was the strangest part. My daughter got married somewhere 11 miles away, and in my living room, the refrigerator cycled on. A truck delivered a package across the street. Ruth turned to Paige. I had imagined pain arriving like a wave. Instead, it settled object by object. Paige putting on the dress, Richard offering his arm, Nolan seeing her. The chair in the 3rd row remaining empty because I had refused to occupy the version of motherhood she had assigned me. At 4:17, my phone was still off. At 4:30, Ruth said, "Do you want tea?" "No." At 4:45? Maybe. She went to the kitchen anyway. I turned on my phone at 5. Messages arrived all at once. Ellen, thinking of you. Louise, I'm so sorry. It was beautiful. Stan, wish you were here. Daniel had sent a photograph. Paige and Nolan stood beneath an arch of white flowers, facing each other, their hands joined. Nolan was laughing. Paige's eyes were closed, and her smile looked unguarded. Beneath it, Daniel had written, "She's married." I typed, "I'm glad." Then I went into the bathroom, shut the door, and cried against a towel so Ruth would not hear me. She heard me. She did not knock. When I came out, there was tea on the table and a box of tissues beside my chair. "You could have pretended," I said. "I am pretending. This is my natural tissue arrangement." I sat down. Was I wrong? "Yes," she said. I looked at her. "About some things. Not all the things. That is useless. It's accurate." My phone rang again. Daniel. I let it go to voicemail. At 6, photographs began appearing in the family thread. Paige walking back down the aisle, Nolan kissing her forehead, Richard beside her during a toast, one hand raised, Celeste seated with Cynthia, Daniel and Simone dancing. There were no photographs of the 3rd row. I muted the thread again. Ruth stayed until 9. We ate scrambled eggs and the thawed hash browns for dinner. There were enough potatoes for 8 people, so she took half home in a plastic container. "Call me if you need me," she said at the door. "You've been here all day. Need is not a rationed resource." After she left, I listened to Daniel's voicemail. "Hey, Mom, we're still at the reception. I just wanted to tell you it was a good ceremony. Paige looked beautiful. She asked where you were right before we lined up, which was, anyway. I told her I didn't know. I'm not trying to make you feel guilty. I know how that sounds. Call me tomorrow." At 10:30, Ellen called from the hotel lobby. "I won't give you a report," she said. "Thank you. I just wanted to hear your voice. You heard it Tuesday. You know what I mean." "Yes." We sat in silence. Finally, she said, "The photographer asked for the bride's mother during pictures." I closed my eyes. "What happened?" Paige said, "She isn't here." And then they moved on. "Why are you telling me? Because it mattered." "Did she look upset?" "Yes, that doesn't help me." "I know." In the background, I heard laughter and the opening notes of a song. "Go back inside," I said. "I love you. I love you too." Near midnight, I changed into pajamas and carried my phone upstairs. One final message waited from Paige. It was the formal wedding portrait. She and Nolan stood together in front of the flower arch. No relatives around them. Her bracelet was visible against the bouquet. I stared at it until the screen dimmed. Then another message appeared. "I'm married." I wrote, "I know. You look happy." Her reply came almost immediately. I am. I waited. 3 dots appeared. I kept looking for you anyway. I typed. I kept looking too. She did not answer. I slept badly and woke at 6:30 with the confused feeling that I had missed an appointment. For several seconds, the previous day existed only as a heaviness in my chest. Then I saw Paige's wedding portrait glowing faintly on the phone beside my bed. Downstairs, I made coffee for one. The family breakfast began at 9:30. At 9:40, Louise sent a photograph of the restaurant table. Small vases of yellow flowers stood between plates of eggs and fruit. Richard was visible at one end studying the menu. An empty chair sat near Louise, though there was no reason to think it had anything to do with me. I closed the message. Paige called that evening. "Are you home?" she asked. "Yes. We're leaving for the airport in an hour. How was breakfast?" "Fine." The word had become hereditary. "Nolan's packing," she said. "We're both exhausted." "That seems normal." "Everybody kept asking why you weren't there." "What did you tell them? That you decided not to come?" I gripped the phone. "That is not true. You did decide. After you excluded me and offered a conditional chair. There was a chair." Paige. I couldn't explain the entire situation over eggs. You could have said I wasn't invited on the original guest list. Then I looked terrible. You did something terrible. She went quiet. "I just got married," she said. "Yes." "Can we not do this today? You called me. I wanted to hear your voice. Then ask how I am. How are you?" Hurt. Her breath came out sharply. "Is there any answer I can give that won't lead back to that? Not yet. We're going away for 8 days. When we get back, can we have dinner and agree not to discuss the wedding? No. Why? Because that would mean the first condition of having you back is helping you forget what happened. I'm not asking you to forget. You're asking me not to mention it. For one dinner. That is how our family hid things. One dinner at a time." She began to cry. I could hear her trying not to. "I don't want to lose you. You haven't. It feels like I have. You lost the version of me who would make this comfortable. What if I need my mother? I'm still your mother. Then why don't you sound like it?" I closed my eyes. "Because you are asking motherhood to mean I cannot be injured by you." Someone spoke in the background. Nolan, too far from the phone to understand. "I have to go," she said. "Have a good trip." "Do you mean that?" "Yes. I love you. I love you too." For 8 days, neither of us called. On the 9th, Paige sent 3 photographs from the trip. A harbor at sunset. Nolan holding a cup of coffee beside a window. Paige in a blue dress smiling with wind in her hair. I replied, "Beautiful." She wrote, "It was. We learned to communicate in captions." 2 weeks later, she called after 10 at night. Nolan and I had another fight. I sat on the edge of my bed. "Are you safe?" "Yes." "Is he?" "Yes." "Then what do you need?" She hesitated. "To talk. About the fight or about us? Can it be both?" "Not tonight." The silence that followed felt almost physical. "You've always listened." "I know. So now I'm punished whenever I need you?" "No. Tonight I don't have enough room for your marriage and what happened between us. What am I supposed to do? Talk to Nolan. Call a friend. Write down what you want to say and sleep before you say it. That sounds like advice." "It is, but you won't listen. Not tonight." She hung up angry. I cried afterward, which made the boundary feel less dignified than it had sounded. Ruth said dignity was mostly a lighting issue and brought over leftover lasagna. Paige called again 4 days later, at 7 in the evening. "Is this a better time?" "Yes." She told me the fight had been about thank you notes. It had started with stationery and somehow reached the question of whether Nolan trusted her to admit mistakes. I listened for half an hour. I did not tell her he was right. I did not tell her she was. When she asked, I said, "You seem more interested in proving you had a reason than deciding whether you caused harm." "That sounds familiar," she said. "Yes." She was quiet. "Mom, I'm sorry I said the real guest list." Thank you. I was stressed and angry. I know, I didn't mean you weren't real family. You only meant the list without me was real. That's not fair. It is exact. I'm trying to apologize. For the sentence. It was a horrible sentence. Yes. She waited for forgiveness as if we had reached the proper place in the exchange. I appreciate the apology, I said. But the wording was not the injury. Her frustration arrived before her understanding. Nothing I say is enough, not yet. She ended the call politely, which somehow hurt more than when she hung up. A month passed before she came to my house. She brought flowers and a folder containing wedding photographs. The flowers were pink tulips, which I liked, though Paige had spent years believing I preferred lilies because Richard once bought me lilies on our anniversary. I brought copies, she said. You don't have to look now. Thank you. We sat at the kitchen table. She opened the folder herself. There were photographs I had already seen and others I had not. Paige fastening the silver bracelet. Cynthia adjusting the veil. Daniel laughing with Nolan. Richard walking Paige down the aisle with a solemn expression he had probably practiced. Then came the family portraits. Richard and Celeste stood beside Paige. Cynthia and Stephen stood beside Nolan. Daniel and Simone joined them in another. Everyone was arranged symmetrically, the spaces between their bodies neat and deliberate. You all look nice, I said. Paige closed the folder. I'm sorry about the breakfast. I looked at her. I should not have expected you to host after we didn't invite you. No. And I shouldn't have told people you just decided not to come. No. I told Louise the full story. That must have been a long call, 47 minutes. She prayed twice. That sounds short for Louise. Paige smiled, then looked at her hands. I still think canceling the breakfast made everything harder. It did. But I understand why you did it. Thank you. Again, she waited. Are you going to say it still isn't enough? I wasn't planning to, but it isn't. No. She pushed back from the table. What do you want, Mom? I want you to stop apologizing for the parts you think you can afford. Her face tightened. I came here. Yes. I brought you pictures. Yes. I told people the truth. After the wedding. What would make you happy? This is not about making me happy. Then what is it about? You chose to remove me from your wedding because you believed I was the parent you could hurt without losing. Until you can say that without surrounding it with your father, the dinner, the breakfast, or the seating chart, we are going to keep having this conversation. She stood. I can't do this today. All right? You aren't going to stop me? No. That seemed to upset her more. She left the photographs. I kept them in the folder for several weeks. Then I chose one of Paige and Nolan beneath the flower arch and put it in a frame in the living room. I did not choose a family portrait. Summer settled in. Paige called every Sunday, though some calls lasted less than 5 minutes. She asked about my garden. I asked about work and Nolan. We avoided nothing by agreement, but sometimes there was nothing useful to say. Daniel and Simone came for dinner twice. The first time, Daniel spent 20 minutes trying to repair a loose cabinet handle I had already fixed. The second time, he brought no tools and seemed relieved when I did not mention the phone. Richard stopped calling entirely. Celeste called once to ask whether I wanted to have coffee. We met halfway between our houses. He thinks you turned Paige against him, she said. I haven't discussed him with her since before the wedding. I know. Do you tell him that? Yes. And? He says, I've changed too. Have you? I hope so. She stirred her coffee. Paige asked him about the apartment deposit. I looked up. What did he say? That he had intended to pay you back. He sent a houseplant. I know. How? He admitted it. That surprised me. Then he said you enjoyed being the martyr, Celeste added. That sounds more familiar. He isn't speaking to Paige much. Because she asked? Because she didn't accept the answer. I felt no triumph. I had imagined this moment at the engagement dinner. Paige finally seeing Richard clearly, the balance corrected. Instead, I pictured my daughter losing the father she had protected and knew revenge was too small a word for what families did to one another. "Is she all right?" I asked. "She should tell you herself." It took Paige another 3 weeks. She arrived on a Thursday carrying 2 containers of takeout. No tears, no overnight bag, no dress needing repair. "I brought Ty," she said. "Why?" "To eat." "Is something wrong?" "No." "Did you fight with Nolan?" "No." "Do you need me to store anything?" Her mouth twitched. "No." I opened the door wider. We ate at the kitchen table. Paige told me about a disastrous presentation at work and a neighbor who kept leaving passive-aggressive notes about recycling. I told her Ruth had bought a lampshade that cost more than the lamp. When the food was gone, Paige stacked the containers but did not stand. "I talked to Dad," she said. "I heard." "From Celeste?" "Yes. He said you've poisoned me against him. I haven't tried." "I know." She folded her napkin into smaller and smaller squares. "I told him I'm not letting him take credit anymore." I waited. "He said you put me up to it." "I told him you spent years doing the opposite." "What did he say?" "That I was being manipulated." "Were you?" "No." Her voice was quiet but certain. "I told him I love him, but loving him doesn't require me to help him rewrite things." "He left before we ordered lunch. I'm sorry. I thought it would feel good. It rarely does. He hasn't called. He may. And if he doesn't, you'll be hurt. That's your advice? It's the truth." She looked around the kitchen. "I chose him because I knew he would leave. I did not move. I knew if I pushed Dad, he might walk away. I knew you wouldn't." Her eyes filled, but she did not look down. "I used that. I told myself you were stronger and that you understood him and that one private morning should be enough. But really, I chose the parent whose love felt safest to abuse." The room went very still. "I'm sorry I excluded you from my wedding," she said. "Not because of the breakfast. Not because people found out. Not because Nolan was angry. I knew you were my mother, and I treated you like something useful I could keep backstage." I reached across the table and took her hand. "Thank you. I don't expect that to fix it." "It doesn't." She nodded. "I was wrong at the engagement dinner," I said. "Not only because of the timing. I used your happiness to punish your father. I made you collateral and called it truth." "You did. I'm sorry. Thank you." We sat there holding hands, neither of us pretending the wedding could be restored. Paige began coming by every other Thursday. Sometimes she brought dinner. Sometimes I cooked. She stopped calling only when something had broken. I stopped answering every silence with a solution. In November, she invited me to dinner at her house. "No occasion," she said, "and you don't have to bring anything." "What should I wear?" "Clothes. Your hospitality has changed. 7 o'clock, Mom." When I arrived, Nolan opened the door and hugged me. Daniel and Simone were already there. Cynthia stood near the dining table with Stephen and a woman I did not recognize. Paige came from the kitchen carrying a bowl. "You brought nothing," she said. "I followed instructions. I'm documenting the date." She set down the bowl and touched my elbow. The unfamiliar woman smiled. "We haven't met," she said. Paige did not explain the wedding, the empty chair, or the months between then and now. She did not soften the word or hand it to someone else. She drew me closer and said with simple certainty, "This is my mother."